A new day is here. It is Thursday, and it's, of course, 65 more days to election 2024. I'm talking about the presidential and parliamentary elections. Welcome aboard the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I'll be serving you the news in a bit, followed by the news review. And then for sports, we'll be joined by Haruna Mubarak. Now, let's get into the big stories and what we can expect on the day. So, the economy has recorded a marginal increment in inflation of 21.5%. That's what it's shot up to from the 20.8%. Pulling brakes on the 5 months of a downward trend. But the question is, what does this mean for the economy and government's target of attaining an inflationary rate of 15% by close of year? What are the remedial measures? Should government begin revising its figures, or is it still a realistic target? This morning, we'll be interacting with the finance people, the economics people, the economists on the issues. Stay tuned for that one. Also coming up, Amnesty International is making a demand on the Inspector General of Police to furnish them with full details of the arrested Stop Galamsey Now protesters and to immediately stop frowning on their human rights or impeding their human rights. Yesterday, I went to one of these police stations. I'm not going to mention where yet, and had a conversation with one of them. We'll be sharing some thoughts on what they have to say and hopefully get some responses from the Ghana Police Service. Later, of course, we give you the opportunity, in fact, right from now, of sharing your thoughts with us via the social media streams. And if we activate the phone lines, be one of the first to call. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for allowing me into your homes and onto your gadgets. The news is up next. Thank you for staying for the news belt of the show. Let's get right into it. And the Chief Justice is blaming prosecutors from the Attorney General's Department for delaying court trials of persons arrested in connection with illegal mining. There are currently 850 alleged illegal miners standing trial in various courts across the country. However, many of these cases have dragged on, with none of these cases having been concluded. Organized labor has also announced a nationwide strike, citing the failure of the authorities to constitute a special court to prosecute accused persons as a reason for their action. Although the Attorney General wants judges to expedite prosecution, the Chief Justice says the work prosecutors also play is the cause of the delay. There's more in the following report.
The 2024 Annual General Meeting of Judges and Magistrates also brought together stakeholders to reflect on improving the security and welfare of the judiciary for effective justice delivery. However, given the raging national crisis of illegal mining, Attorney General Godfred Dame chose the occasion to call on judges to expedite cases related to persons standing trial over illegal mining.
Cases are secured, but they come in trickles. Currently, over 140 cases of illegal mining involving over 850 accused persons are pending in courts in the Western, Eastern, Ashanti, Greater Accra, and Upper East regions of Ghana. Some have been pending since 2020. This situation, with all respect, cannot be right. We are in urgent national crisis, and all citizens and institutions with any form of role to play must be called upon to act. Your leadership, I therefore respectfully call on you to direct all judges sitting on Galamsey cases to conclude the cases, the hearing of which has started within 1 month from the commencement of the legal year on 10th October 2024.
However, the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, in response to the AG's concerns, pointed out that delays in illegal mining cases also stem from the work of some state prosecutors.
Petitions about delays through unending adjournments of cases. There's no need for a court to adjourn a case after the case management conferences for mention. My firm view, developed from 20 years of sitting as a trial judge and appellate judge, is that it should not be the norm that parties are made to dress up, leave their businesses, spend money traveling, and spend time just sitting in a court premise only to hear the title of their case called out and told to come back another date. On the issue of delays in Galamsey cases, the Attorney General will acknowledge that our engagements have shown that the delays often come from the work of prosecutors.
The courts and the Attorney General have come under intense criticism for the detainment of some 53 persons who allegedly staged a protest over illegal mining, with a number of civil society groups calling for their release. However, Godfrey Dami says, although the actions may be wayward, some innocent persons may have been mopped up together with a group, a reason he expects the police to let them go by the next hearing.
Having said this, I urge the police service to swiftly conclude investigations by the next agenda date of the cases involving the prosecution of SSs for recent protests in Accra, so as to exclude by that date all those against whom sufficient evidence cannot be found to proceed further. I also advise the prosecution to consider relevant bail applications at the next agenda date of the case.
Now, labor unions have declared their readiness to lay down their tools to join the call for government to declare a state of emergency on Galamsey. Already, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the Media Coalition Against Galamsey have all declared their support for the indefinite and nationwide strike declared by the TUC on Tuesday after the expiration of a one-month ultimatum to government. The TUC and other unions have been demanding the revocation of LI 2462 and also the declaration of a state of emergency on all illegal mining activities. But first, my colleague MFA Aditi sat down with Deputy TUC Secretary General Dr. Kwabena Nyako-Otu, who says since the declaration of the strike yesterday, they are yet to hear from government.
Nothing has changed. So we are still in preparation to undertake the strike come 10th of October 2024.
Well, so between yesterday and today, have you seen any intention from the government to want to engage you on any form?
No, not any that I have seen. And I'm not sure any of our leaders have seen anything. They have not communicated anything personally to me. But if they have done so with other leaders, I would have been in the known.
Now, should government decide to engage in any way, are you still going to go on a strike even if they like to meet you halfway?
Okay, so we outline a number of demands. Okay, we expect that government to fully accede to all those demands. But of course, we are also a body that does engagement a lot. And we are open for engagement. At the end of the day, our objective is to ensure or to see that Galamsey, particularly in forest reserves and the water bodies, are brought to a complete halt. Then after that, we can have a discussion on the broader question of mining and its impact on the Ghanaian society, particularly on the things that matter to us, forests and water, for example.
And so you say the forest and the water, where you like as a reserve, describe as reserve, should not be touched in any way. And that's, at least if government is able to do that one, you're looking to consider or reconsider the date, the 10th of October?
Yeah, we are. But, I mean, so the objective is not merely to strike for the sake of striking. The objective is to end Galamsey.
Now, the biggest transport union, the Ghana Private Roads Transport Union, and their counterparts, the Concerned Drivers Association, have become the latest to fully declare their readiness to join TUC's strike. Listen to Public Relations Officer of the GPRTU, Ibrahim Abbas Moro, and the Concerned Drivers, David Aguado.
The 10th, all GPRTU nationwide will lay down our tools. Nobody will work.
How many drivers are we talking about as far as the GPRT is concerned?
My brother, as many as you could count, because we operate all over the 16 regions. Undisputedly, we are the leading transport operators as well. And I strongly believe we are not doing this for GPRT, but we are doing this for Mother Ghana. As long as the Galamsey issue keep destroying our water bodies and creating problems for anybody who consumes any water in that condition, then means nationwide. By coming out again, don't expect only GPRT. You expect all transport operators as well.
And so on the 10th, all the almost tens of thousands of drivers under GPRTU who sit at home, they will not put their cars on the road.
Yes, if nothing changes, that's exactly what everybody should expect.
No movement
No
across
movement
the country.
Until otherwise.
On the 10th of this very October, no vehicle is moving. We will sit down and demonstrate. We will not move our vehicle. We will not let anybody, any trotro or long-distance vehicle move in the country.
So I get the sense that on the 10th of October, there will be no commercial vehicle on the street across the country to pick passengers from one point to the other.
Exactly so. If organized labor and TUC are doing this to save Mother Ghana, we will all join hands by parking our cars as the whole nation. This is not Obienya issue.
What's the number of drivers we are talking about in this association, and which part of the country will be affected?
This is 16 regions. Even if concerned drivers, we have a region, even in a region, we have only 500 drivers in a region. 16 regions. We are talking of a huge number of drivers that are parking.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his government's commitment to ensuring free, fair, and peaceful elections in the December polls. It is closed that although he wished for his anointed successor and NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to win, he would not attempt to subvert the will of the people. Speaking at a meeting with the clergy, Muslim clerics and chiefs, he touted the achievements of his administration, stating that he had made the country better than he had found it.
President Akufo-Addo won our meeting with the clergy, Muslim clerics, members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs, and some community leaders in the Upper West region hinged on three fronts. First is to thank the people of the Upper West region and the country at large for the honor done him to be the president of the country and their continued cooperation, which has brought relative peace to the country. Second is to tout the achievements of his administration, and lastly, to urge the people to vote for the flag bearer of the MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to be president to continue his good works.
What we have done in this region, in education, in health, in road infrastructure, in agriculture, in the industrial development of our country. And I have, with modesty, but also with pride, I can say that in all these areas, I have improved considerably the state of affairs in the Upper West region compared to what I inherited in 2017.
President Akufo-Addo touched on the implementation of the free senior high school policy, which has given opportunity to Measles students to benefit, improvement in the quality of education in the country, and expansion of infrastructural projects.
The road network in the Upper West region has increased from 5,797.41 kilometers in 2016 to 6,741.8 kilometers by the end of 2022. This reflects, by the end of 2022, these figures do not include the expansion that has been recorded in 2023 as well as what is going on in 2024. But even then, by 2016, 2022, we're seeing a 16% growth in the expansion of the road network in the Upper East, Upper West. They include asphaltic overlays. They include the completion of some notable roads, Wa, Hain, Kaliu, Sankana, Takpo, Wa, Viera, Nadoli, Laura, Hamile. And now we've also seen the first tarred road to the border, Hamile border.
Despite the significant achievements that he touted about, he considered that there's still more to be done.
There's still a lot of work to be done, but that work has begun and we will continue to do it. Especially, you can be sure that if you listen to my plea and allow my vice president to come and stand here in my shoes, that work will be completed.
Though he sees Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as his anointed successor, he will not make any attempt to subvert the will of the people.
As president, I cannot impose anybody on you. I don't have the power and I don't have the interest. I want the decision, just as I was elected. The next person to stand here in my shoes will also be elected by the people of Ghana.
He concluded by mocking at the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mohammed's claim of breaking the eight because of his position on the ballot paper, stating that it is not a good sign of victory.
I see that the former president is saying all kinds of things about the number 8 that he has, that he chose, and that it means he's going to win. Well, breaking the 8 and having the number 8, that's not a good sign at all. It's not a good sign. Our game is to break the 8, and you pick the 8. That is very simple.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam. Wa.
The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, has appealed to the general public to provide researchers at the Kintampo Health Research Center the needed support to enable the center execute its mandate efficiently. He made this call during a brief visit to the KHRC to ascertain first-hand information about the challenges affecting the center. Anas Abid has more.
The visit by the Director General of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, to the Kintampo Health Research Center is to, amongst other things, identify key challenges facing the center, as well as develop ways and means of addressing them. Dr. Kweku Puku Asante is the director of the Kintampo Health Research Center.
We are very excited about his visit, and this is because during a visit by the leadership of the Ghana Health Service, it provides us confidence and assurance that the work that we are doing is of relevance to the leadership of the Ghana Health Service. And that's exactly what the Director General mentioned to us. His visit also provides assurance that they are looking into what we do, and they are very concerned about our challenges as well. And so we also presented our challenges, as we usually do when he visits every year, to address them. We are grateful that today he's accepted to work on the current challenges for us, and also to ensure that there's continuity of the research that we do, which is usually of importance to the Ghana Health Service leadership.
The center, which is widely known for its collaborative role in the development of a malaria vaccine which targets the reduction of malaria amongst children, is today working around non-communicable diseases, including hypertension.
So currently we are working on non-communicable disease research. We have just completed one key research that looked at referral patterns of people with hypertension in rural areas. As you know, if we take people of age above 40 years, about 50% of them may have hypertension. If you take people between 18 and above, about 25% of them do have hypertension. But the challenge is majority of them don't even know they have it until they get a bad outcome like a stroke. So we are working on how to identify people that have hypertension, how to refer them for treatment, and also how to get them to continue their treatment and have their blood pressure controlled.
Director General of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, underscored the significant roles played by the center in improving health care in the country, and was quick to call on the people of the area to provide the center with the needed support to enable it execute its core mandates.
Kintampo was one of the lead research centers in the world that did the malaria vaccine trials, and they continue to do more. They did that for COVID vaccines, among others. They have also done a lot of community-based studies that shows us what is the community perception of our work. How better can we serve the community? That they need the community support for their research, but they need the people in their research. They need resources from the community, because whatever we do is the community that benefits first, then the entire country. How does the structures, assemblies, etc., help them to do that? Yes, we also appreciate the importance the research plays in the way we deliver services and the type of service we deliver.
Anna Sabit, Joy News, Kintampo.
The Bono East Regional Directorate of Health Services has commenced the vaccination of children aged between 9 and 59 months against measles and rubella. The Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Paulina Clara Apia, stated that the exercise was targeting nearly 210,000 children across the 11 districts of the region, with adequate arrangements made to include all children, including those in the region's island communities. Anas Sabit reports.
The campaign, which targets children aged between 9 and 59 months, aims at immunizing about 209,000 children within the Bono East enclave to safeguard them against measles. The initiative, according to the Bono East Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Paulina Clara Pia, is in response to a recent increase in measles cases over the past few years.
The reason why it has become necessary for us to do is that we have started seeing an increase in measles cases. From 2020 to now, we have seen that each year measles cases has been going up. For example, 2024, we've been able to detect 43 cases as compared to 23 last year. And it's not only here in Bono East, but it's all over the country. So the plan is that we are trying to mop up or reach out every child who is susceptible to developing measles. So whether you've had a measles vaccine before or not, we are providing you this opportunity to have the vaccine. And so what we are doing, that for the region, we have a target of 209,000 people to vaccinate. Each district has its own target. And so what we have done is that we have gotten the district to sensitize the general public, meet stakeholders, so that they can also mobilize the community for us to be able to vaccinate these children.
Dr. Paulina Clara Pia revealed that enough arrangements have been instituted to ensure that no child is left behind, including out-of-school children and those within the island communities.
So one of the areas is that we are doing the static clinics where all our hospitals, our health centers, our CHIP compounds are vaccination sites, that the community knows that they can go there and have the vaccination. The other strategy is the outreach site, where already in the communities, they know where we go and then sit and have the vaccinations. They already know. So for those who will be in school, we will go to the schools and vaccinate them there. But for those children, 9 months, some of them may not be in school. We will meet them in their homes, at the marketplaces, wherever their mothers are working, we also go there. So those will be done by the mobile teams. And then we have one other group that will also go to our island communities. So they will do the camp out. So they will use the whole 5 days, go to those islands, and then move from island to island and then vaccinate the children who are eligible.
She was also quick to underscore the relevance of the exercise and appeal to all parents to fully participate in order to provide the needed protection to children from measles and rubella.
It's so necessary because vaccines actually save lives. And so I just want to encourage anybody who has any doubt that the measles vaccine is not good. The measles vaccine saves lives. And the women population, they can attest to it, that as long as they have the measles vaccine, even if somebody has the disease, it's not severe, it doesn't kill them. And so the measles vaccine is good.
Bono East Regional Minister Kwasi Adujan admonished the people of the region to embrace the exercise, which will go a long way in helping protect the targeted children across the region against measles.
It is for that very reason that the Ghana Health Service has set aside 5 days. This is happening not only in Bono East or Techiman, it's happening throughout the 16 regions and about 266 districts. Okay, so we are educating the people to understand that there aren't any side effects of this, as some of them go to.
The 5-day vaccination exercise begins today and is expected to end on Sunday, October 6, 2024. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Techiman.
Well, let's settle for our business updates up next. Welcome back. Now, the General Agriculture Workers Union is predicting food prices will continue to surge in the coming months, despite government's intervention policies. This follows the increase in inflation for the month of September 2024 to 21.5% from 20.4% recorded in the month of August 2024. The Ghana Statistical Service has attributed the increase to a rise in food inflation. Reacting to the development, former General Secretary of the General Agriculture Workers Union, Edward Kariwe, said the impact of Galamsey and the dry spell would push food inflation further in the coming days.
I think that I'm not surprised. What actually surprised me was that when prices of foodstuffs were skyrocketing, inflation was declining. That is 2-3 months back. And that was a surprise to me. But as it stands, under normal circumstances, between September, October, food prices are supposed to come down. And then that will have a significant influence on the national inflation. Unfortunately, if you look at the landscape of agriculture, in terms of production capabilities, you'll realize that this year, 2024, we are not going to have any significant increase in food production in the country. And if our total output is going to fall, then of course it will push inflation up. So from now until December and then into next year, particularly the early part of the year, we should expect food inflation to continue to push the national inflation up.
In our next story, the National Coordinator for the African Continental Free Trade Area, Farid Arthur, has emphasized the importance for SMEs to take advantage of the agreement to reach other markets on the continent. He made the appeal after 12 small businesses were selected to participate in the trade forum in Rwanda in the coming weeks. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Arthur said many businesses were still not taking advantage of the AfCFTA.
This is the second time that the African Continental Free Trade Area, the Secretariat, is holding the African Business Forum. And this time, the first time was held in South Africa. This second one is being held in Rwanda from the 9th to the 11th. And as part of the Business Forum, African businesses from 35 countries, 35 African countries, and other businesses from across the world will be meeting in Rwanda to discuss the issue of business improvements and other things. So the companies and enterprises that we have selected, mainly from the small and medium enterprises sector, are supposed to go and get the exposure on the African continent, see how other African continents are doing their thing. They're also supposed to have the opportunity to network with their counterparts and then to look for business. So the purpose of what we are doing here is to be able to build their capacity to be able to effectively participate in such forum, go there, negotiate effectively, make networking, and then also to sell Ghana, to look for business opportunities for themselves.
Well, it's a cap for business and a cap for the AM News. I'll be serving you the news review up next, but I leave you with our currency market update. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. It's time now for the news review. And in a bit, we'll be joined by Laura Saka. She is with the Ministry of Information, representing the NPP, and Rachel, well, Naache, she prefers to be called Naache. She's a member of the NDC's communications team. She is here in the studio with me. Good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
Grace abounds. We thank God for the gift of life, and I'm happy to be here my very first time. Thank you, Joy News, for having me.
It's good to have you here for the first time. I've told her the protocols about how we do it here, so she says she's going to comply. No propaganda. All right, so I have a stack of papers. You also have your stack. But before we get into them, there's something we do on the show. We give about a minute or maximum 2 to our newspaper review guests to talk about an issue that they are passionate about. Which would it be for you this morning?
Good morning, viewers. And so I'm passionate about His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He's in the Northeast region as we speak, selling the message of the NDC to the good people of the Northeast region. And I'm sure reporters are on the ground and you see the overwhelming, welcome that the region has given to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in anticipation that effective 7th January, God will bless Ghana with an NDC administration so that we're able to reset Ghana, so we're able to reverse the ills that the country is currently facing. And I'm sure you hold me to it, that what are some of the ills? I think that for us to use $58 million in the name of building a national cathedral to dig such a well, such a swimming pool, I think that is one of the ills of the society. I think that the challenges that have bedeviled the youth of Ghana, unemployment is also an ill in Ghana that John Dramani Mahama is proposing, that he's coming to give jobs. John Dramani Mahama is also saying that a critical, component of our population, women, we are a greater majority, but women face challenges from not having access to expand their business and even to initiate businesses. John Dramani Mahama is proposing that he will set up the Women Development Bank that would give a minimum of 1 million Ghanaian women. So whether you are in the corporate space and you want to, get, Ben, it's very difficult to live on one income stream in the times we are in. And so even if you are employed, John Dramani Mahama is saying that he'll give you access to capital so that you're able to get other, streams of income. And so this morning, what's on my mind, what I'm passionate about is John Dramani Mahama's agenda to reset Ghana and put it on the right trajectory. Thank you, Ben.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts there. Let's get into the papers now, and I'm going to start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Tertiary programs at unaccredited centers to be revoked. That's according to GTEC. Measles-rubella vaccination underway. Targets 5 million under 5-year-olds. Expedite hearing on Galamsey cases. AG to judges. And Student Loan Trust Fund pays 25 million Ghana cedis in teacher trainee allowances. CDS calls for more collaboration among security services. On the back page, Minister satisfied with Ghana Landscape Restoration Project and revamp Abosso Glass Factory to develop renewable energy equipment. CSOs charge political parties. Those are the stories there. Maybe let me start from the back page like I've been doing in recent times. And the political parties should consider seriously the need to revamp the Abosso Glass Factory as a first step to developing local capacity to build the country's renewable energy equipment. This equipment includes solar panels and wind farms. The call was made by 11 civil society organizations in Accra last Tuesday. Now, this was during a post-manifesto engagement with political parties. I'm talking about the ruling MPP, the National Democratic Congress, and the Movement for Change. It goes on to list the CSOs involved. Then, Minister satisfied with Ghana Landscape Restoration Project. The Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Ophelia Mensah-Hayford, has expressed satisfaction with the level of work done so far in the Kwewu area on the implementation of the Ghana Landscape Restoration Project, describing it as successful. He made the remarks at Abetifi last Tuesday after visiting 4 land restoration sites in the Kwewu East District in the eastern region where the trees that were planted were flourishing. And those are the stories on the back page. Particularly interesting when we are talking about the Ghana Landscape Restoration Project and that recent sum of about, is it $30 million that hopefully we're getting from the United Arab Emirates for, similar activities. On the back of Galamsey, also biting hard as far as our country is concerned. Natre, do you have any reactions to these stories before I go on to the other ones?
And so when I say that the NPP is a government that wastes the taxpayers' money or wastes resources, it is evident in what you are reading. Why would the president put a committee to work? The committee will submit its report to the president. The president will confiscate the report for over 2 years to a point where the chairman of that committee, Professor Frimpong Boateng, will come out and say that we worked, I submitted the report to the office of the president, and the president has refused to work on it. Doesn't it show that the president is actually complicit in this Galamsey issue we are facing? Doesn't it prove that the president lacks a certain political will to fight it to the point that his own appointees have been fingered in this Galamsey scandal we are talking about, for lack of a better expression? But you see, why would we allow ourselves to waste our lands and natural resources and then use an amount you've mentioned, $30 million or what have you, to come and say we are doing land restoration when these monies could be channeled into improving the free senior high school? And so we'll set up to say that we are destroying a land, we are destroying water, and then we'll turn back and say that this is money allocated to solve this problem. Why would the NPP intentionally, and I use the word intentionally, because in the famous video, we heard them say, that Prof, you said we should go and look for the famous video involving Professor Frimpong Boateng, where names like John Boadu were mentioned, and the likes, key members of the NPP, saying that they needed to go get a concession to mine in the name of Partington Sika. So because Partington Sika, you actually spoil the health of our lands and then our waters and turn back to say that you are receiving money to go and restore it. What I'm saying is that money is hard to come by. So there is the need for a certain fiscal discipline, right? And that translates to what we are seeing. You go and then you supervise such unprecedented levels of distraction. And then you are waiting for aid to come and restore the lands. What I'm saying is that it is very worrying. And then Ghanaians should not trust the NPP in this fight against Galamsey. Ghanaians should not trust the NPP in this fight against Galamsey because the NPP lacks the political will. The NPP are not just enablers of the crime. They have become complicit in it. They are neck deep and hand deep in this Galamsey menace. I don't know why any well-meaning Ghanaian will think that the NPP has what it takes. And I'll tell you why I think the NPP doesn't have what it takes to fight Galamsey. We heard
briefly on that.
We heard their Efiduase Asokori, member of parliament, saying that the Galamseyers were imported. Ben, of all the names I have mentioned to you, which of them did the NDC import? He was actually accusing the NDC of importing Galamseyers. Did we import John Boadu? Did we import Professor Frimpong Boateng? Did we import the likes of Charles Nitego, whose name came up in the report that the president refused to work on? Did we import them? And then you see, for some funny reasons, the NPP thinks that we will look on for them to destroy our resources, and then we'll give President Akufo-Addo a third term under Dr. Bawumia.
Your point is made.
That would not happen.
Right, your point is made on that. I do wish we had the MPP's representative here to also share her thoughts on this matter, but let's see what pans out from there. Now, there's also the front page, and I'll start with this story. Expedite hearing on Galamsey cases, Attorney General to judges. The AG and Minister of Justice, Godfrey Adame, has called on the Chief Justice to direct all judges hearing Galamsey cases to conclude them within 1 month. He said that would go a long way towards delivering justice for the heinous harm caused to the people by the devastating act. Mr. Dami was speaking at the annual general meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges Ghana in Accra yesterday on the theme, improving the security and welfare of the judiciary for effective justice delivery. The AG said the trial of illegal mining cases was one of the categories of cases that progressed at a slow pace as illegal mining continued to cause incalculable damage to the country's forest reserves and rivers. In respect of the protesters in recent times, Democracy Hub, the AG said the state would prosecute acts of protesters which threatened essential services, infringed on the right to free movement, or attacked the safety of security forces this election year. He explained that such acts could endanger the entire society as they had the tendency to destroy the peace of the nation. Mr. Dami said there were attempts by some people to create tension ahead of the elections and instill fear into people through demonstrations, which in some cases were what he described as a ruse for mounting an attack on the security forces and disrupting the running of essential public services. Now, let me just add that yesterday and I'm intentionally not mentioning the police station, I went to a certain police station because we hear some of them have been moved from place to place. There's someone I have worked with in the past, so I had a special interest, went to see this person who has a son, and just to check on the person. It was an interesting situation, and some claims were made about not having access to a phone and someone who perhaps wasn't even on the grounds and had been bundled in and all of that. We don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. The simple point is, these people, the court processes, like the AG is saying, must be allowed to go to run its course quickly without any impediments. And if they are going to be granted bail or if they are going to be let go of, that happens. Because some of what is happening, to put it mildly, makes no sense. The fact that they've done this, if you're going to process them, charge them for something, some of which has been brought to bear, and some of them you have to prove that in court, go ahead and do it. And if not, don't keep them. Don't. But quick thoughts on that matter, because I heard you, speaking about it earlier. Naatre, any thoughts on that?
And so, you see, when people protest, and for one reason or the other, the police think that they found themselves on the wrong side of the law. Like you're advocating this morning, what should be delaying their trial? And when I say that the NDC has the solution to some of the things that we are facing, I mean it, and I'll let you know. And so if it is permitted by the good people of Ghana, and effective 7th January, President John Dramani Mahama is sworn in, what we are saying is that we would empower the court to sit for 24 hours to expedite action. And so if the court said morning till midday, if the court said midday to evening, the court will sit during the night. What we are saying that we will resource the courts, be it with security, be it with personnel. It is part of a comprehensive program to ensure that such hearings are expedited. Because you are keeping people in police custody, you are detaining people. And you know the very worrying situation, Ben. The fact that most of them complain that they've not been even given access to lawyers. Some of them said we need medicine and we've not been given access to our medicine. Some of them said we need access to speak to family and then police is denying us. If it is permitted that the courts are expediting action, they are actually working around the clock, for lack of a better expression, the expeditation of hearing that the Attorney General is calling for would happen. But then you see, why would, as we have seen in Professor Boaten's report, the real kingpins of Galamsey be walking about? And then the innocent Ghanaian who says, I am demonstrating against the fact that someone somewhere has put my life on the line and not his job. Because bear in mind, Galamsey may not be happening in Accra. And you can't also say that simply because Galamsey is not happening in Accra, people in Accra should not protest. And by the way, was there a register to say that those protesting are only residents in Accra? All of us drink water. Water that has been channeled from, rivers and processed for us to drink. Isn't the life of the ordinary Ghanaian on the line? It is only the NPP government that has had even toddlers demonstrate against them, had even the aged demonstrated against them. In this Galamsey matter, you see, I have always said that the NPP did not seek out to fight Galamsey. They actually went on a mission to change the actors of Galamsey. And so, for example, if they find a concession, they will seize the concession that was told to us by Honorable Kennedy Akompre Japan, that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo seizes people's concessions and gives it to his favorite. So on this note, I think it is fair to come to the conclusion that the NPP just changed the hands, the actors of Galamsey. They did not set out to solve Galamsey. Now, to also add that, if we hear the arrogance of some NPP, key members of the NPP, saying that, well, we would let you continue the Galamsey, and I've heard Mr. Mrekuduka say that we would make you continue. In fact, we would give you all the support you need to actually, continue Galamsey. While on the other hand, the running mate of the NDC is saying that we will actually train the youth, the young people, to indulge in responsible mining. And so this morning, the choice is between saying that we will let you do the Galamsey, we will let you spoil our river bodies, we will let you put the health of our water at stake, and by extension, the health and the life of Ghanaians at stake. It is for the good people of Ghana to choose the government that will put their lives first and say that we are protecting the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Let me ask you a quick question. You made reference to something. Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman in recent times has been talking about training for Galamseyers, and so they can mine sustainably or have a stable system and all of that. What exactly does that mean? Because Galamsey is illegal.
So what we are saying is that, and so what she said was that she didn't say that we are actually training you to go and engage in Galamsey. What she said is that...
Did she use the word Galamsey or not?
No, so you see, you can't... I'm
asking you a question.
She didn't.
Okay. Did she use the word Galamsey?
So it is,
She didn't use the word Galamsey.
Ben, let me answer your question. It is ideal for you to play the video, for the viewers to be the best judge. I think that's what we should be doing this morning.
This video has been in circulation. We don't have any cause to go looking for this video to play it. I'm asking you, when she did not. Let's have a conversation, not a...
Ben, she did not.
Let's have a dialogue, not a monologue. Hold for me. Hold for me.
You asked me, Ben, no.
Hold for me. I am asking the question. Hold for me.
Ask.
Did she suggest that training would be given to Galamseyers to go and mine sustainably? The sustainably is not a concern for me. Did she talk about Galamsey? I reiterate, Galamsey is illegal mining. What did you hear?
So Prof told the gathering that we will train you in responsible mining. Simply put.
Director, if we have access to the video, that is if we do, please look for it for me and let's listen to what she said. I've seen some things on social media. I do not know whether this can be corroborated, but if we have access to that video, let's cross-check and let's hear exactly what she had to say on that. I found it unfortunate because I remember that day on our midday news, it was brought up, and Galamsey, some members of your party have tried to water it down by saying she had some confusion between small-scale mining, which is legal, legitimate, and illegal mining, and lumped them all together. Some people do that, but I don't expect her, at her level, as a running mate, to make that mistake in any case. But thank you for those submissions. Students Loan Trust Fund pays 25 million Ghana cedis teacher trainee allowance, and CDS calls for more collaboration among security services. Let's get into your stories. Oh, and there's this one. We did it in the news. Measles-rubella vaccination underway targets 5 million under 5-year-olds. So 5 under 5. That's it. Which paper are you starting with?
Well, so this is the Ghanaian Times. The front page says that 36 hotspots identified nationwide. National Peace Council intensified public awareness campaign in affected areas. It comes to the photograph of Mr. Wilson, who is the Boja, who is the president of the National Peace Council, I'm sure. And then we also have NDC advocate stakeholder examination of the EC's IT system, and I think that's my interest this morning. I also have the New Republic. It says that scandalous links exposed. Vice President Bawumia alleged connection to Haptel lucrative deals. It also has on the front page, Togbe Nyaho moves to foil royal coup, and then coup echoes reverberate. NPP in election data harvest plot. And then the Ghana Report Cambridge Analytica connection has uncovered this. On the back page, it comes with a photograph of Elik Plim Akurubu, our MP candidate for Dom Kwabinya. And so my interest this morning is on the EC. And I've stated on other platforms, and I'll repeat, that the NDC is going into the 2024 election with zero trust for the Electoral Commission. It is not because the NDC is anti-EC. it is because, among other things, the EC has not carried itself in a way to merit the trust of the NDC. And then to also say that for the president to, actually stash the Electoral Commission with NPP party faithfuls, people who have sat on platforms like myself communicating. And on this note, Ben, I'll ask you that if you see me sometime soon as a commissioner of the EC, won't you as a media person want to actually question the compromises I may be tempted to make? And so these are the referees that we are going into the 2024 election with. And to also say that when, people say that, including the EC itself, says that, and so the NDC has not actually submitted any evidence of the claims we are making to them, then I want to actually ask them, so if the NDC has not submitted any claims or any evidence to you, what exactly were you answering? And anytime you are asked, you tell the media, you tell the good people of Ghana that all the concerns of the NDC have been, rectified, if that's the word. And so if there is no evidence, what exactly are you working on? The EC itself has come to the admission that indeed we made illegal transfers. It was the NDC that pointed out some of these things to the Electoral Commission. Without the vigilance of the NDC, would the EC had come out to tell the good people of Ghana that we actually transferred people illegally?
The EC cannot know everything. They say this was done on their blind side. This was an official who went rogue, so to speak, in the Pusiga situation. You stated a number of issues. The EC has admitted to about 3 of them. It has reflected them in the latest IPAC meeting. It's demonstrated what it had done to remedy the situation. You were asked if you had anything else to bring to bear. You did not bring that to bear. What's the noise about?
Ben, when you say we did not bring anything, I think
I never said you didn't bring anything. I said if you had anything more to bring to bear, apart from the issues that you've brought prior. They've been dealt with. What else do you want?
Ben, you're now coming clear on that. So you said the EC says that this was done on their blind side. Doesn't it tell you that then, of course, the EC's IT system is vulnerable? If people can go into your system and then actually conduct illegal transfers, Ben, for anybody to be transferred, the person must be physically present at the EC's district office. The person must be given a form to fill. The photo that will be uploaded onto the EC's system to actually validate this transfer must be a live photo and not a photo taken prior. And so if you tell me that a Jumako, for example, you have actually illegally transferred 3,000 people, did the 3,000 people enter the office of the EC? Were they given the forms to fill? Right? And then were that live photos of these people taken? And so, the argument that the EC said it was held on their blind side, then how many ballots will also be counted on their blind side? Indeed, the vigilance rests with the political parties.
I'll ask you again.
What the NDC is saying is that...
I'll ask you again. Are there more issues that the NDC has discovered? I've seen your statement. And post the IPAC meeting, you speak of the IT system, for example. We are asking, what other issues are there? And if you're holding certain cards, why are you holding them to your chest and not putting them on the table?
Ben, all the cards are on the table. We stand by the fact that, like you have mentioned this morning on this platform, that if EC officials can actually do illegal transfers on the blind side of the leadership of the EC, right, then we are still recommending to the EC that their IT system needs an audit. And this morning you have stated, using the word on their blind side. It should never be the case that a whole EC would sit and say that these transfers were actually conducted on our blind side. And people would think that, so the NDC doesn't have a case. And then on the issue of the voters register, we are, in as much as we don't trust the EC, we are taking the EC's word for it, that they say that it is a continuous process, and as soon as practicable, they will let the political parties have the updated voters register that is near perfect. What we are saying that as a party, the work for us doesn't end there. We are going to the 2024 election with a message of Women Development Bank. We are going to the 2024 election with a 24-hour economy message, and we are going to the 2024 election with vigilance that the vote that will be cast will be the true representation of the good people of Ghana.
Well, you should be reassured because the president, while in WA, stated that while he would prefer that his vice president, the flag bearer of the NPP, becomes the next president, stands where he was standing, he would let the will of the people, that he can't even compromise that. So you should be happy with that. Let's quickly get into other stories.
Right. And so I also have here 36 hotspots identified nationwide. Maybe I'll go into that story shortly. It's on page 12. Page 12, okay. And so it says at least 36 critical hotspots have been identified across the country by the National Peace Council, NPC, as places where electoral violence could erupt during the December polls. It says that out of the number, the council has so far selected 26 of them where engagements will be held with parliamentary candidates and electorates on political tolerance and solicit their inputs on how to resolve the tension. Maybe my interest will also be reading on to see, because the stakeholders that the National Peace Council has mentioned is not exhaustive. You even have the security, you even have the Electoral Commission. For us to say that, so this place is a hotspot, it is not solely dependent on the electorate. It is not solely dependent on the political actors. So, for example, the members of parliament. It is also dependent on the security that will be dispatched. And on this, we are calling on the police to actually, as always, they've demonstrated free and fair. I mean, they should give room, that day, whilst protecting the interest of the Ghanaian and not of any political party. But I also say that the National Peace Council, beyond the engagement with the electorate, I think should pay critical attention to what is happening at the Electoral Commission. Till today, the National Peace Council called on the president to revoke the appointment of key NPP people that he has appointed to the Electoral Commission. The people are still there. And the National Peace Council would look on and then call political parties in the face of what I've stated to come and sign peace pacts. It doesn't augur well for our democracy. It doesn't augur well for the peace.
Are you not interested in peace?
I have never said that. I am interested in peace. The NDC is interested in peace. What I'm saying is that peace is not just one component. The component of engaging the electorate and engaging the political actors, in this case, members of MP candidates of either political parties.
The National Peace Council is biased? Is that what you're saying?
Not biased. What I'm saying is that the action is not exhaustive. And so, for it to be exhaustive, what is happening at the Electoral Commission must also be of critical interest to the Peace Council.
But the National Peace Council has spoken to some of these issues. In fact, just yesterday, I was speaking to George Amo, who is Secretary for the National Peace Council, and some of these matters came up. They are still at your door knocking for you to, sign the peace pact. And they say at least some of the things on your list, your 6-item list, have been dealt with, including, for example, the president coming out to say, listen, I can't even interfere in any way. Yes, it is my hope as a politician that my vice would become the next president, but it is not up to me. The people will decide. Does that not suffice for the sake of peace to put pen to paper and go along so that things do not degenerate in election 2024? Is it not enough?
Ben, the NDC will not sign any peace pact in the face of what is happening. Peace is not a paper. Peace are actions and inactions. So peace is not a paper.
All right. I think your point is made on that. Any other? Are you done?
Well, I think
you can look at the next newspaper rather than, because I think we've exhausted the issue.
So this one says that scandalous links exposed vice president. I would want you to choose the stories so that nobody accuses me of coming here to be biased. I know
you have the paper, so
what people can do. And so it says that NPP in election data harvesting plots. Okay. I think this is also my interest on page 3 of the New Republic. It says that poll unveils Mohammed's election triumph. And for us, in as much as the polls are actually demonstrating that it will be a one-touch victory for the NDC. We are not complacent. And it should tell you, our flag bearer is on the ground, our running mate is on the ground, key members of the NDC are on the ground. Our message is sharp. The people of Ghana have bought into our message. And so these polls are not coming out of a vacuum. They are coming out of decisions that the good people of Ghana have made going into the 2024 election. So I'll give you snippets of the story. It says that a covert operation by the National Security Establishment to evaluate the viability of President's Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, the presidential hopeful of the ruling New Patriotic Party, against former President John Dramani Mahama, has yielded unsettling results, affirming the inevitable, and that word is underlined. I mean, I would want to underline that, affirming the inevitable triumph for John Dramani Mahama and the NDC in the upcoming elections. It goes on and says that the outcome of the polls conducted by National Security have cast a shadow over the official report, which remains withheld due to the conclusive data indicating victory for John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. And then here too says the NDC unveils women-centered policies. And so maybe I'll run the good people of Ghana by some of our women-centered policies. See, John Dramani, I've talked about the Women Development Bank already, so I won't belabor that point. But we are coming back with the redistribution of sanitary pads for young girls. Young girls listening to me, John Dramani Mahama cares about your reproductive health. And then don't listen to NPP people who says that when these pads are shared, it's for ill purposes. It is to support you to stay in school. Nothing takes a woman's confidence than a stained self. And so on this, I'm talking to young girls. President John Dramani Mahama cares about you and says that he's coming back to give you sanitary pads to help you to stay in school. The retention numbers of girls must increase for us to bridge the gender gap. President John Dramani Mahama cares. And then on that same, what we are going to actually do for women, what the NDC is saying is that we are extending maternity leave to 4 months. 4 months paid leave for the woman who has just had a child to stay at home and take care of their baby. And it will be paid. Of course, you are home, you are receiving your monthly salary. And so choose John Dramani Mahama to give you loans to work with, very soft loans. The interest rates are below the market price. So when I say below market price, what I'm saying is that if the interest rate for the banks, the regular banks is, for example, 40%, John Dramani Mahama is giving you unbeatable rates that are way below the market rate, so that you can expand your business, so that you can actually take the initiative of starting a business. You have a skill, you don't have the capital. Trust John Dramani Mahama to give you capital to start or to expand your business. Trust John Dramani Mahama to give you free sanitary pad young girls to stay in school. Trust John Dramani Mahama to give you, among other things, 4 months of paid leave. We are resetting Ghana so that the ills of society would reduce to the barest minimum.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. You're talking about all of these policies and stuff. A lot of it will demand financial resources. How are you going to raise those resources, especially as we are under an IMF-supported program?
And so President John Dramani Mahama has been president before, and he'll be president again. Ben, when people ask that, where is the money? Which money did we use to dig the world's most expensive hole? I mean, I'm asking.
Have we completed it?
Has it even been started? Is the current state even befitting of a national cathedral? And so President John Dramani Mahama admits, that's what I'm saying, he's been there before, knows that there is the need for a certain level of fiscal discipline. And so won't actually misappropriate the taxpayers' money into digging holes. Would apply the taxpayers' money judiciously. The taxpayers' money would give sanitary pads to the ordinary girl.
The same way he did the first time before 2016?
Indeed.
The same way?
Yes.
Where in some instances, I mean, hold for me. Where in some instances there were schools that were struggling with chalk and, you know, the basics. There were schools under trees. They still are there now. But all these dynamics also happened under John Dramani Mahama. You know, some of us get very skeptical when this kind of talk is made mention of. And I think some of you in the political parties, you should measure how you talk. Because guess what? We were told by this administration, the current president, Yeti Sikaso Nsokomode, we are where we are. We're under an IMF program. You are hoping to come to power, and you're waxing lyrical about all these things you will do, and that there is money. If there were money, do you think we would have gone to the IMF?
Ben, did I sit here to tell you that? What I'm saying, when you say I said there is money, you are putting words in my mouth. What I said is that President Mahama understands fiscal discipline because he's been there before. Okay. And so would apply the taxpayers' money judiciously and not to dig holes. And so I think that we should actually contextualize the conversation.
Right. Our time is up, but let me just leave with these headlines. Political Digest. Indicators point at NPP victory, says Nana B. I'll get into that story briefly. Check if your allegations have been addressed. NPP scribe to NDC. Greatness can come with mindset of possibilities. That's according to Baumia. And Galamsey fight call to action. That's according to Napo. Daybreak newspaper. I will protect assets of the judiciary. Chief Justice assures judges. Probe Obo over 41 million Ghana CD Otumfuo stamp. Angry Ghana Post staff demand. I saw him recently in church, actually. His team came for a group. Eduche hangs at Customs and GRNMA backs Kolebu CEO. Let me just get into that story. Nana B, where is that story? Okay, let me see whether I can... It didn't mention which page it was on, so it's a little tricky. Ah, yeah, here it is. National organizer for the MPP, lawyer Henry Nanabuache. I'm curious, though, why do we add lawyer as though it were a title? Well, the engineers have this, and we like titles in this country. The person's name. Why do you like adding lawyer this? Anyway. Henry Nanabuache, known popularly as Nanabi, has assured members of the party that they are winning the 2024 elections. According to him, the political party has fulfilled most of its social contracts with the people of Ghana in major sectors of the country's economy. Well, I was thinking that he would cite something specific, but he is not. Though there have been surveys in recent times that have pointed to the MPP gaining ground on John Dramani Mahama and maybe superseding that. Final thoughts in some 30 seconds.
My final thoughts, good people of Ghana, make a decision. Vote for John Dramani Mahama. He has the perfect pair of hands to reset Ghana and put it on a path of prosperity, jobs, development, and justice. Those who have looted state funds, he will recover for our good interest. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining the conversation. That is Naa Chair. She's a member of the NDC's communications team. Her counterpart from the MPP, we invited, and she was supposed to be here, just so you know. That's how we cap off the news review this morning. But coming up next, we have sports. Do stay.
Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. We start with the Ghana Premier League, where Asante Kotoko secured a hard-fought 1-0 win over Nswatriman FC in an outstanding match at the Lenkley Sports Stadium, moving them to second place in the standings. The game, initially set for match day 2, had to be postponed due to Nswatriman's involvement in the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, Nswatriman defender Isaka Mohammed attempted to clear his lines, but inadvertently headed Dauda Isaka's cross into his own net, handing Kotoko their first home win of the season. In yesterday's other game, Gold Stars played out a 1-1 draw with Samatex, away from the Ghana Premier League to the Division 1 League, where this season's competition will see a return of a familiar club in recent years, Accra Great Olympics. But has this always been the case for the club? Well, my colleague Daniel Cranton explores the history in this feature.
Hello, pleasant welcome to the Accra Sports Stadium in Sunday Night Football, match day 32 of the Ghana Premier League. This is a battle for survival. It's a Capitals derby. Hartsabok against their city rivals, Great Olympics, but this game has got different dynamics to previous games that the two teams have played because these two are in a battle to survive the Ghanaian top flight. A defeat for both Hartsabok and Olympics might potentially take them to Division 1 football.
Last season's Ghana Premier League campaign saw Accra Great Olympics relegated from the top flight for the third time in 7 seasons. This all-familiar story of relegation has become ever so synonymous with the Accra-based side, making mockery of the current state of the club. Life as a Great Olympics fan today is certainly far from pleasant. But let me tell you a story of a time Accra Great Olympics were so good they earned the nickname the Wonder Club. In 1922, Cape Coast and Accra became the first colonial cities in sub-Saharan Africa to host formal leagues in the Gold Coast. Accra Hartsabok emerged inaugural winners of the Accra Football League at the expense of city rivals Accra Standfast, and the two clubs continued to be the dominant sides in Accra for the next few decades. Then in 1954, Accra Standfast were handed a surprise defeat at the hands of Kumasi Cornerstones, which sparked a huge row between Standfast team manager S.O. Glover and some board members over match-fixing claims. S.O. Glover, as a result, left the club together with some management members and players to form a rival team in Sakumotoshi, a suburb of Accra, by name Accra Great Olympics. The early 60s saw the formation of another Accra-based side, Dr. Nkrumah's very own Real Republicans. With only 2 teams eligible to use the Accra Sports Stadium as their home grounds and an automatic slot given to the Republicans in that regard, Olympics had to face rivals Hartsabok in a justifier, and they lost. The Daddy Boys had to settle for the Tema Sports Stadium, but that seeming misfortune ended up being a huge positive.
Olympics had to contend with the Tema Stadium, but they made good use of the stadium. In fact, they turned out to be called the Wizards of Tema. You know, at that time we didn't have the hotel. They had some strange winds blowing, you know, from the west. So, and it comes normally around 5, that's the second half. You know, that's where you balloon the ball and the wind carries it so far. And Olympics mastered the situation so much that whenever they come out in the second half, they won't lose.
Fast forward to the 1969-70 season. Ghana had returned to a civilian government, with Dr. Buzua being sworn in as the first prime minister since Nkrumah was ousted. In the same vein, the lives of Great Olympics fans were about to take a positive twist.
For me especially, I grew up in Polygon, part of Accra called Polygon. And what I remember very well was that Great Olympics used to come and wear their jerseys at one house, just about 1.5 kilometers off our route, in the house of one very powerful man called Mr. Johnson. I think he's deceased now. So anytime they came over to wear the jerseys, then imagine as kids will be there, then you see them in a bus or a truck or so being driven just by us to the stadium with the Olympics flag flying. It was so momentous for us. We all ran up to the roadside. So actually, for a lot of us in that generation who grew up in that particular area, most of us are Olympics fans, and that was how it all started. And to make matters very lively, of course, those were days where the media wasn't so pronounced, so you would hardly be following proceedings on the telly or even radio. I think we were young, so those who were old enough were listening to radio, but you'd be there, and then all of a sudden around 5:30, 6 p.m., when the match would have ended at Accra Sports Stadium, you see them coming back, especially with Bitfree, and then we had this powerful pan-local group led by one very popular guy in Polygon, Adama Sinatra. I think it was a nephew or relative of Mr. Stanley Branson. So they'll be drumming the pan logo in another track, following these people with the Olympics flag flying. Also, as kids, we all run to the Mr. Johnson's house to go and await them, get down from the bus, and it was so much fun. I think growing up, I never knew Olympics could even lose a match.
Led by star striker and captain Jones Atukwefio, who was part of Ghana's 1965 AFCON squad, Olympics, after years of pushing ever closer, won the league title, becoming the only side in Ghanaian football history to win the league without losing a single game.
At that time, we had the likes of good performance, like John Awu, Fretete, Audunesi. I'm talking about the goalkeepers. You talk about Edward Boy at the right fullback. You talk about Banama Hafo, left fullback, Asani, right half back, and the center half was Aruna Musa. And then when you come to the midfield, you could talk about Omamisa and Ajiakun. They were manning the midfield. You know, at that time it was 4-2-4 formation. So this were the people manning the midfield. Then you talk about attackers, you talk about Joe Koblan, you talk about Ayama, then you talk about Jones Atukwefio, who happened to be the skipper, and then Jonas Ajayi at the left flank.
In a bizarre but hilarious turn of events, that season did not feature a Galamsey derby between the eventual winners Olympics and Hearts of Oak.
You know, we were supposed to play Hearts of Oak, but they traveled to overseas. They couldn't make it. They said they were coming today, tomorrow, and the match was fixed, but they didn't come. So eventually, the two points and the 3 goals were awarded to us. So in that particular season, we never played them. In fact, they decided to come and play. But when they saw our squad, they took to their heels. They thought they could meet us with their second string squad. But when they came and then they saw our big boys on the field of play, they took the best decision by not honoring that match.
Winning the league qualified Olympics to the African Club Championship, now known as the CAF Champions League. It was the first time the club was participating in the competition, but they were not about to market themselves as newcomers. After a 3-1 aggregate win over Kenyan giants AFC Leopards in the first round, Olympics found themselves staring at elimination after losing 2-1 in the first leg of the second round against Malagasy champions MMM Tamatave. However, a Jones Atukwefio hat-trick, in addition to 2 goals from Peter Lamte and 1 each from Joe Kobla and Robert Hammond, propelled Olympics to a resounding 7-0 second leg win at the Accra Sports Stadium, the biggest win by any Ghanaian side in the competition till date. A 2-0 aggregate win over Uganda's Coffee United set up an all-Ghanaian semi-final between Asante Kotoko and Great Olympics.
Olympics were so happy to play in the championships because they had taken the lead from us. You know, they had entered Africa first. So meeting Kotoko, the defending champions, we thought it was a good match. And the sudden death of Robert Mensah gave a whole lot different dimension to the match. You know, supporters were going around with the erroneous stories, you know, that maybe Olympics might have masterminded his death. But it was a well-attended match, especially the first time 2 leading clubs from Ghana were meeting in the competition. Yeah. So come, I think November 7th, yeah, it was postponed to November 7th. They were fully packed Accra Stadium. Very balanced game. And Olympics took the lead. It was Zinata Jones. Jones was a very good player from academical side up to Republicans. No, he was playing for Republicans. That will come to that. So he scored the first goal. I think it was the 50th minute or so. And it took Kotoko a long time. Abukari, their top scorer, in about the 85th minute, he got the equalizer. So the stage was set for a grand second leg in Kumasi. You can just imagine. The stadium was filled to capacity. It was quite a balanced game, and it was going to end in a draw. A minute to time, Sunday Ibrahim from nowhere got the match winner. So that's when the stadium turned red. Kotoko supporters, everybody was happy about it, and Olympics had to be content to their semi-final berth. It was a good debut for him. Yeah.
Despite the semi-final disappointment, Olympics exited with their heads held high in a debut campaign which saw Captain Jones Atukwefio pick up the prize for the competition's top scorer. After competitive seasons in 1972 and 73, Olympics claimed their second league title in 5 years in the 1974 campaign.
In 74, you can say that, as far as I'm concerned, I'll say that 1974 league was the most keenly contested league in the annals of Ghana football. It was a neck-to-neck finish. The champions were decided at the last match when we had to play against Azakes in second D, and Accra Suffolk also played against Nkumasi and Cornerstones in Accra here. And then we just needed a draw as we were going to play on the proper light. So they thought they could manipulate the match if the results are not favored. Balu and Bio, we drew 2-2 as Azakes and were home and dry.
The significance of the 1974 league title cannot be understated, as it was the birth of the coaching career of Cecil Jones Atukwefio.
In fact, in 74, he was a registered player, but a calamity befell the club. Our punk ruler, who happened to be Mr. Seth Rojatete Okanse, died. At that time, we were having a German coach, Karl Lowenstein. But I think after the death of this man, the coach decided to leave. And then Jones Atukwefio was brought in as a caretaker coach to take over from the expatriate. And lo and behold, Jones too was also a very good coach. In fact, his playmates knew him as somebody who could rise to the occasion. So when the need arose, the management did not, bother to look for anybody from outside, but just took up the mantle, and then Olympics was good to go.
An FA Cup triumph followed a year later in 1975 with a victory over BA United, and the Wonder Club also claimed the Champion of Champions trophy in 1976. Olympics have since struggled to replicate the glory of the 70s.
It's a bit difficult to really put your finger, but one thing I would say could be the fact that there isn't that much unity in the club. That is a fact that as much as it may be unpalatable, it's a fact that you have to talk about. Then one other thing I believe is that most people who sacrificed for the club in one way or the other in the past, whether as managers or administrators or board members or even supporters who sacrificed a lot, often ended up leaving the club very peeved and sad and, as it were, moving out of the club with a lot of pain in their heart. So you see they move back and then they do not want to join the club or have anything to do with the club.
Not losing sight of what the club once was is the only way to get back on track. And with that, peace, friendship and unity, which are the three pillars on which the club was founded, are important. Eslo Glover's dream blossomed and shines even till this day. Regardless of the state of the club, Olympics is still alive. And maybe one day, hopefully sooner rather than later, they will be champions again. In the words of Ohinejan, they dared and became daring. They persevered and conquered, rushing in with glorious impunity where angels fear to tread. Olidade became the Wonder Club.
We are great to Olympics team. We are sure restoring great to bring peace with the oh, great Olympics team. We go Olympics. We shall be Go and go on, go. Olympics, only that day. Thank you, my man.
Hello, Ghana. Get ready for the biggest giveaway from Syntex Tank. Oh, yeah, that's how I'm welcoming you back on a Syntex note. Syntex is visiting 15 communities, giving them free water. This is to say, thank you, Ghana, for making us the #1 brand. Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. But did you also know that Syntex tanks actually come in so many colors and was the first to come out with inner white layers? Did you know that? So if it's not Syntex, you can forget about it. Now, if you're a community and you want to benefit from the Syntex free water giveaway, just log on to their social media handles, that is at Syntex Ghana, and nominate your community. It's that easy. The more you nominate, the better the chances of Syntex coming to that community. And remember, it is SINTEX, Syntex tank. It don't be any tank to be tank. The correct tank be Syntex tank. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. But let me also tell you a bit about our Seniors Day Out at the Aviation Social Center. As with wine, life gets better with age. Now, the Aviation Social Center did it last year, and they are going to do it again in 2024. In commemoration of the International Day of Older Persons 2024, Fifth Sense Strategies and Aviation Social Center Limited present Seniors Day Out, 2nd edition. The date is Saturday, October the 5th, 2024, and the theme are place, for sure. The venue is the Aviation Social Center. You don't want to miss out. The times starting from 9 a.m. and concluding at 4 p.m. Activities include free health checks, self-care, wellness activities, gentle aerobics. These are senior citizens, seniors reflexology and massages, outdoor intellectual and fun games, a live band for dance lovers, buffet, and many more. Tickets are available at the front desk of the Aviation Social Center at a cool 200 Ghana cedis, with everything inclusive. And this is open to all retirees or pensioners, associations, old school groups, and senior citizens of Ghana, that is 60 years and above. So come with your parents, your grannies, your great-grannies, and your grandpas for a good time. This event is brought to you courtesy of Fifth Sense Strategies in partnership with the Aviation Social Center, Bracebridge Consult, and the Association of Ghana's Elders. Seniors Day Out is proudly sponsored by GT Bank, SNIT, VRA, Verna Mineral Water, Dragnet, and Hits 103.9 FM. You can reach out to them on 0551 464 466 or 0262 315 703. Or for further inquiries, you can go to the website www.aviationsocialcentergh.com. On Facebook, Aviation Social Center or Seniors Day Out page. And on Instagram, AV, a capital A, a small v, and Social Center. You'll find them there. But talking about social issues, let's now delve into that all-important conversation in respect of those members of the Democracy Hub who have been incarcerated, some for about a week now. I was at one of the police stations yesterday and interacted with one of them because she's a former colleague of mine. But to focus on that conversation, we've seen a recent letter to the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, asking for certain details, asking for the names, the whereabouts of some of these, because some of them have been moved about and you don't know who is where. We're going to interact with the country director of Amnesty International, Genevieve Partington, to find out what the call is really and what we can expect. And also to find out what has been gleaned so far in terms of her interactions with some of those who currently are behind bars. Genevieve, a very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you, Genevieve. It's been a while. I hope all is well.
Yes, all is well. Thank you.
All right. From where you sit as country director of Amnesty International, tell me, with what you followed so far, I just want to know your breadth of appreciation of what you know so far. What can you say in respect of these, young people who are in both police and prison custody? What do you know as Amnesty International?
So far, according to police reports, there are 53 that have been picked up so far. At the beginning, we heard reports of the number being around 40. And since the protests happened, when the protests ended, there were still people being picked up that were not even at the protest grounds.
Right.
So then you ask, okay, why were they being picked up? There's one particular gentleman who is known as Bernard, and I
think you mean Benjamin Darko.
Sorry, Benjamin.
Yeah, Benjamin Darko.
Who was feeding the those that were detained. He was the one ensuring supplies and things of the sort, and he was suddenly picked up. So these are definitely things we are concerned about. So as Amnesty International Ghana, we wrote a letter to the IGP requesting for certain information. We followed up with the response, and they say they are working on it. So we still don't have a response. And this is actually information the police should freely give out to us, being a human rights and humanitarian organization, just so that it makes it easier to reach out and check on protesters. I was also in Sawan prison. That was 2 days ago. Unfortunately, the time I got there, they were changing prison guard, and it was unlikely. I mean, they gave me certain excuses that, it would be difficult to see the 11 persons that were in custody on remand over there. Because they were in separate cells and this and that, it would take a lot to organize it. So unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to see them based on those reasons. I also went to East Legon Police Station. The East Legon Police are quite friendly and receptive, so I commend them for that. I went there and I was able to give, some supplies to the one person that was there, and I had a good interaction with him where he told me, how he had been shifted from different police stations. When he went to court, he was brought to East Legon Police Station. He was at a different one before that, and the fact that they are shifting prisoners, detained protesters around is really difficult for us to follow who is where. That's one. So just based on information and just based on going around to certain police stations, and if some of them have called Democracy Hub or other organizers of the protest, that is how they are locating the whereabouts of some of the detainees. I also went to Legon Police Station, where 3 are being held, and that as well, they were okay. The police there were also very friendly. Cantonment's Police Station, previously when some volunteers went there, they went there around 8:30 p.m. and they were denied access to the protesters because they said its visiting hours are up, but we weren't coming to visit, we were coming to give food. Those are two different things. Did you explain
that to them, that you were not there on a visit,
yes,
but you were there to give food? Because we must also salute them where they do the right thing. Yesterday I got there,
absolutely,
I think sometime before or right after midday. I actually checked the wall. Mm-hmm. The times they have there are 6 to 8 a.m. and I think after 4 p.m. or so. It wasn't within that period. So I felt they may not allow me, but they were very lovely to me. They allowed me.
Which police station?
Cantonment's Police Station.
So it depends who's on duty, right? It depends who's on duty. Right. They change.
I am not disputing that. I'm just saying that I guess the experience may be different because they just had to take my pouch, my phones, and they allowed me to interact with Felicity
But you're also a media personality. You know, the volunteers are not...
I don't know whether they identified me. I don't know. I don't know whether they did.
So the volunteers, I mean, they are just, you know, usual Ghanaians, and they went there. And I genuinely feel it was perhaps the police on duty at the time, because, you know, some police stations have been given, you know, when they realize you're asking too many questions, then they are like, okay, time to go. You need to leave. You know, but it's very important that we check on the well-being of them. One thing I realized, some of the police stations are congested. You know, they have one cell for several persons who have been maybe accused of a crime, waiting to go to court. They have as much as 14, 15 persons in one cell, no light. And, you know, it's open, so you can... I mean, there's mosquitoes. It's not very great. We're afraid that we don't want people to fall sick within the 2 weeks that they are there, which is likely to happen. Yeah, so, you know, I know that the organizers continue to supply food. It's not easy because, you know, this is an expense that was not, you know, programmed. I think also I could just say, yeah, so in terms of like their well-being and stuff, Amnesty is very concerned. And that is why we felt the judge, you know, refusing bail was not the best decision. We felt that it was quite harsh. I know bail is not a given, but it's something that should have honestly be considered, yeah.
So let me just walk through your statement, and then I'll also share some tidbits that I gleaned from yesterday's personal visit. And mind you, I'm not saying that everything is exactly what I may have been told, just for the sake of, because there are different accounts, but the Ghana Police Service could respond to some of these matters and clear the air. But your statement, first of all, you address it to the Inspector General of Police, and then you say request for information on arrest of protesters and other matters related to the Stop Galamsey Now protest. We are writing to request information regarding the individuals arrested in connection with the Stop Galamsey Now protest that took place from 22nd to the 23rd of September. Specifically, we seek the following details. 1, the total number of individuals arrested as of 25th September 2024. 2, the full names of all arrested persons. And 3, the locations where each person is currently stationed. And you add, as a human rights organization, Amnesty International Ghana frowns upon all forms of violence and violations of all human rights, including the rights to freedom of assembly and expression, which is enshrined in the Constitution. I'm just paraphrasing. As a matter of urgency, we call upon the leadership of the Ghana Police Service to respect the fundamental human rights of protesters. Do you think that their fundamental human rights have been impeded? And let me just share with you maybe some of what I have been told as well in respect of this. So you were mentioning Benjamin Darko, one of the conveners. The story has been, and of course the court will have to look at it and determine the veracity of that he is a leading member, a convener of, Fix the Country. He was in meetings with the police as far as organizing the demonstration was concerned, but that on the day he was not there. In fact, he was going around town doing something else, and that he has his Uber locations and all of that to prove it. That is what has been said. And I have been told, again, I'm not saying this as though it were the authority, the fact, but this is what I have been told. I'm merely sharing it, that when evidence was adduced in terms of, oh, these are videos. You remember that the police there had cameramen, right? And some of them are seen walking about, just walking. Some of them were picked up. But that for this Benjamin Darko, there was no such video footage. And that supposedly, the claim had been that, oh, the file had been corrupted. And so for him, there was no footage. Then you'd be asking yourself, so why is he being held? If that is indeed true, if that is actually what happened. Some of them tell me they don't have access to phones. Of course, when you are in this situation, you don't have all, you don't enjoy
don't have
all
access
the rights, right? But that
yes.
they've not been allowed calls, and so unless someone walks in, they don't have any way of reaching out to people, which makes it difficult when you're looking for someone to find out where exactly they are. Felicity, for example, is asthmatic. She says on the day of her arrest, she had an episode. She didn't have her inhaler. The police didn't have 150 cedis to buy her an inhaler. Of course, it's not as though it is their duty immediately, but of course,
no, it's not their duty.
Exactly, but human life. So she had to be taken to hospital and she was nebulized there. All of these create concerns. Benjamin Dako supposedly went to visit Oliver Barker-Vormawor and there got apprehended. All of these are in there. These are things I've been told. Again, I'm not saying it as though it were the whole truth or the facts. This is what I have been told. Does this paint a picture of any infringement on human rights?
Well, in a way, yes, because first of all, so that is my issue with the police currently. I know they've issued statements that they have upheld, the human rights values and ensured persons get, the right treatment. However, human rights should be respected throughout the process, okay? So the question is, did they respect the process from the get-go, from when they picked up the protesters? And this, like you said, supposedly they did not. I do not have, I can only base that on what I've been told, just like what you have been told, that, I interacted with some of those that were arrested, and they told me that at the beginning, they were not given the right to make a call, at least to one family member or to legal counsel. They prolonged them meeting legal counsel. Eventually, they did meet legal counsel because when I went to East Avon Police Station, the person there confirmed that, yes, a number of lawyers, they had access to a number of lawyers, but this was prolonged. So now the question is can you say human rights was respected if it was withheld for a certain period?
Right.
And this is what
that is,
I
if for
believe
example, consulting, having legal counsel was not granted them at the point where they should have had access to legal counsel.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And how do you get legal counsel? You have to make a phone call, because how do they know you've been arrested? So I feel those certain things were prolonged for some people. Maybe others were lucky, because again, it depends how you were picked up, where you were taken to. Maybe some were lucky they got that phone call. But I can tell you for a fact that not everyone was granted that phone call.
Right.
And normally, even writing a police statement, you shouldn't write anything until you get your legal counsel there. So, sometimes you ask yourself, is this a way to, I don't know, like just infringe on their rights and make them apprehensive or something, Also, the question of, I know for security reasons, they swap them around and I know why they've been separated, but is it the best? Because right now, we don't necessarily have a list. It took us a while. Oh, this person, like I went to Legon Station expecting certain somebody there. And when I got there, they said, oh, he's been moved. You see, and you get there. So I was like, oh, but I brought supplies for so-and-so person. No, he's been moved. He's no longer here. Right. I was like, do you know where he is? We don't know. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do with the supplies? So these are some of the challenges that for the volunteers are having in terms of, giving basic amenities to some of the detained protesters.
I mean, some of them have been in there for quite a while now, well over a week. There have been court processes and sometimes there are adjournments. Yesterday I heard there was a similar adjournment. One of the lawyers we spoke to at a point, I think just about a week plus ago, suggested that maybe some of them were being straightened in a certain way on the back of their actions with even the prison custody bit, and that the claims that police cells were full and so some of them had to be taken into prison custody, did
Yes,
not wash.
yes.
All of those have been said. I didn't say it. The lawyer, one of the lawyers, I think he is Nelson or something, said that.
Yes. So currently there are 11 in prison custody. There are 11 at Insawa. And it's, I mean, fine, there's been decongestion of the cells where they keep the remand prisoners, that I'm aware. So maybe there are about 100 people on remand, so including those 11, fine. But I mean, you know, I've heard all sorts of arguments that, oh, you know, they didn't grant bail because of maybe flight risk. They didn't grant them bail because they were afraid that maybe they'll leave the country. I don't think those are very valid points, because I believe that the lawyers did all that they can to prove and give information that the protesters will not, you know, abscond, and they will definitely be present for all the proceedings. However, you know, the judge ruled otherwise and decided not to give them bail. I have heard that they are considering. Now, for me, that word is very, it's a probability. I will believe it when it is done. So, you know, I mean, we've made an appeal where I would like to, you know, use this platform now to appeal to the Attorney General to please, please, please relook at granting them bail. I don't think we as a human rights organization, I don't think it was fair in the first place that they were not granted bail. What they committed were mere misdemeanors. And I know bail is not a given, but at least in these circumstances, because right now I feel what they have done has rather aggravated people, and people see it differently, and people see it as an infringement of human rights, because basically people will be afraid to take to the streets now. It's like, okay, if I go on the streets, I'll be arrested.
Right.
And so then why should I go? So in a way, you are shrinking the civic space. Right. I mean, they will look at it from a law perspective, but I will also give the human rights perspective. And you are shrinking the civic space. Is this what we want to do in Ghana? People have the right to come out and protest, and Amnesty will support you. Today, I've seen our socials, we put up how to be safe during protests, what to do, what not to do. There's so much one can do, but when people are angry that there's bad governance, the economy is not going well, that our water bodies are being polluted, what do you expect? People will take to the streets.
Okay.
But how you handle it is very important. And I personally feel it is not being handled correctly at the moment.
I will get to what the AG has been saying in recent times, and the Chief Justice as well. Some of the charges, the rap sheet, some of them say that the things they've been charged for, they look at some of them and they were not even there. For example, Felicity tells me that this vandalizing of billboards or party paraphernalia, and of course, I think it is condemnable. It's in the public space. You can't go and do that. But she was not even there at the time. The first two charges, for example, she wasn't there. She said she was just walking with them, and she was also bundled in. So that could be a concern, and that is a concern.
Yes.
But in recent times, the AG, the Attorney General, has been speaking at the annual general meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges Ghana. And he had this to say about the protester situation. He said that the state would prosecute acts of protesters which threatened essential services, infringed on the right to free movement, or attacked the safety of security forces this election year. We do know that they blocked some roads. They were playing football at a point and disrupted the free flow of traffic, which led, for example, the Sunday after that, when I was trying to head to church, it was pretty hectic because then the police had mounted barricades on the back of that. So you had to go and use a long winding route. So not exactly convenient for the public. That's point one. He explained that such acts could endanger the entire society as they had the tendency to destroy the peace of the nation. He says there were attempts by some people to create tension ahead of the elections and instill fear into people through demonstrations, which in some cases were what he described as a ruse for mounting an attack on the security forces. So he mentions all of this, but he also says he is advising the prosecution to consider relevant bail applications made at the next adjourned dates of the case. Today is Thursday. I don't know when next, because I know yesterday there was supposed to be some court situation, and then there was another adjournment. I don't know when next, because then that means if it doesn't happen between today and tomorrow, that means they are going to spend another weekend in there and start a fresh week. And we know these operations don't happen. The courts don't operate over the weekend, technically, by and large. The Chief Justice also made mention, I'm sure she was speaking generally, that in some instances, the delays in the adjudication of cases were caused by prosecutors. And oftentimes you would have the police, in that space. I don't know what you make of it, because, again, some are thinking that, it's just to show them force, show them power. So sometimes something that must be done, a little thing will not be done, and the court will have to, go through the processes, call for an adjournment, and then it goes on, on and on. What do you make of that?
Yeah. So I believe, yes, we are in an election year, and we already knew, Amnesty International, we knew that there were going to be a number of protests this year. That's why we launched our campaign on Protect the Protest earlier this year, because we knew that there are going to be several protests because of the current state of the nation. So with that, you can't, it's inevitable. The protests will happen. So it's a bit unfortunate that maybe people will see it as, a way of disrupting, public order and the sort, because at the end of the day, there has to be a way for people to rant and show their frustration in a productive way. And if it means walking, taking to the streets in a peaceful manner, then it should be done. I know next week there's also going to be a strike. Protests can be in different forms. Sometimes protests are on social media. Sometimes they are physical. People walk. There's nothing wrong playing football at a protest. It actually, calms tempers down.
No, but they were impeding the free flow of traffic. That is not right.
Okay. So based on that, even that the routes, we knew that the routes were blocked. And even I used a longer route, but it was fine. Because at the end of the day, protests are there to make certain people, and especially governments, uncomfortable so that they can do something and change the situation. That's what protests are for. They're not meant to be comfortable. Okay. Yes, it's impeded traffic. Other protests have done the same, that you have blocked roads. Presidents' visits, government officials' visits, roads are blocked. Why doesn't anyone complain about that? Because so many roads are blocked, they give even more traffic than what happened previously. But it happens.
But in those instances, it is sanctioned by, and when I say sanction, I'm careful, because the police does not allow people to go and demonstrate. They don't have that power. What they do is they give guidance. So then they've told you this is the route, and then they will guide you on that route. So whatever traffic situation is created, they are handling that situation. But when of your own accord, you create that without their help to streamline matters, then these are some of the problems. I keep saying that I am all for demonstrations. I am all for the freedom of expression and all of that. But you must also operate within certain parameters. I don't think the way this matter is being handled is right. But I also feel that there are some actions that could have been avoided, which have, culminated in this situation.
So definitely I agree with you on that. Definitely there are actions that we could have done differently. And I feel, the protest didn't go well. The organizers didn't stick to the route that was proposed. They decided to go their own route. Okay, so handle it, but don't make it look like a form of punishment. Because right now, in the public's eye, a lot of people are seeing this as, we are going to punish you and put you in cells and not grant you bail. So this is an issue. And it would be great for the judge to reconsider the bail in that aspect.
I have seen a post, and I'll just look for it, by Justice Remsai. I know that he's one of those who have showed interest in this case. Felicity mentioned his name yesterday, together with a cohort of other lawyers, and he was saluting. I'll look for that post. He was saluting young lawyers taking up, the cause to represent for free some of these.
It's amazing.
People.
Trust me, I hear.
And that is
there
to
are
be
about
saluted.
25 lawyers. Yes, it's very admirable. There were about 25 lawyers or more at the court. I hear a lot of them are young lawyers, and they are seriously following this case because they do feel there have been, let them face the courts for misdemeanors. That's fine. But how you treat them in the process is very, very important. It's like catching, any criminal, for example, any person that has committed a misdemeanor. They are innocent until proven guilty. Right. Just like you interacted with Felicity, she's being charged for something and she says she wasn't there. So all the evidence and facts need to be presented on the ground before we can actually see whether somebody is guilty or not. Because like you just said, we are hearing different stories. The police say something, the protesters say another
Which is why we need the Ghana Police Service to come clean and let us know what exactly is and what isn't.
Yes. And that is why we are still waiting, because I still believe that it's still important as we speak to have that list. And it shows us some form of transparency that, we are a trusted partner, we'll give you the list so that you are able to access these people and give them supplies. I meet, I have conversations a lot with the organizers. I also have conversations with the police. And, we are just trying our best to engage with both sides because it's very important. And through that, I would really, really be hopeful and expect that they respond to our letter, because it's very important that we actually have a proper list. Right now, we are just working with something based on the lawyers, what the lawyers have given, what the volunteers have given. But it's not a comprehensive list. I have first names of people. I don't have full names. I don't know.
How do you think that reflects on the Ghana Police Service? And again, I am saying that I respect them a lot, the service, and how they have acted. For example, yesterday, I was impressed with how they granted me access, no fuss, no. In fact, they actually were very generous with the time. I thought maybe they would give me just maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. They allowed me to stand there, if I'm not mistaken, for about 10 minutes or a little more, interacting with Felicity. They didn't, hamper my interaction with her in any way. Of course, I was just not allowed to touch or anything. But they allowed me access. And when it was time, they just calmly told me, it is time and I complied. And I had gleaned all the information I needed. But with some of these extensions and everything else that is happening, the fact that in some cases you don't even know the full names of the people, how will family trace them, they keep being moved around, it leaves a lot to be desired, doesn't it?
Yes. So I side with you on that. I mean, like I said, I went to certain police stations. I didn't have any problem at all. I just introduced myself. I'm Genevieve. I would like to see the protesters. Is that okay? And they were very, very friendly. So that one I'll commend. And some of them, even the protesters being held, they said, they are being treated well by the police. But again, like I said, it depends who's on duty. It depends who you meet. But so far, for me, my interactions, they've been fine. However, it's not really about where they are being held, right? It was when they were arrested. What happened when they were arrested? It's not really about the police stations. It's about the cell they are being kept at. It's not great. I mean, having this congestion of 14, 15 people in one cell is not great. That we can't blame the police for, but we have to blame the system for not having, larger cells. So the problem is bigger than we see it to be. This is something that has been an eye-opener for all of us, that our police stations are not really the best in terms of the cells, the cell space, in terms of facilities. They just don't have it. You know, some of them, I mean, Islegon, like I said, it was privately renovated. So, I mean, the bathrooms and toilets are fine. Anyone can use them because they are neat, clean. But you go to other police stations, Nima and things, and the situation is really bad, hygiene-wise, you know, and then you have women being held there who can easily catch certain infections very, very easily. So, you know, like I said, the police, honestly, some of the police stations we've been to, very friendly, very lovely, but it is not them we have a problem with, it is the system. And just to end, the Public Order Act, that is why Amnesty International is pushing for a review of the Public Order Act. At the moment, we are now just having consultations, but once we put something down on paper, we would like to have a proper discussion with Ministry of Interior and the Attorney General's office to really relook at the act, because there are so many loopholes in it that give too much power to security forces. And this is something that we have to look at. And once that is reviewed, I feel like it will definitely have an effect on the way protests are carried out in Ghana.
All right, in just about a minute, we're capping off the conversation. I just want you to summarize for me. One, you've already started talking about what next, but that looks like the medium to long-term future. In the short term,
yes.
What does Amnesty International want to see? What are the next moves? And there's also this talk on the street that the way we are handling these protesters who are protesting an illegality that is killing all of us, if we were to tackle Galamsey itself with that same ferocity, with that same energy, maybe we wouldn't be here. What is your reaction to these two in 1 minute and we're gone?
Yes. So for me, I think that is absolutely right. I feel the same way. We are pushing our anger on the wrong people. They came out simply to protest, fine, but according to some people, they didn't do it the right way. They didn't respect the route. That is most of the time how protests go. And yes, the formed police unit, I hear they did a good job managing the protest. I wasn't there, I cannot confirm. But the whole point is, why aren't we fighting the real criminals? Why are we putting all our efforts, our taxes, our public funds into trying persons who simply came out to the streets to tell the government that this problem is a big problem and we need to deal with it? So on that note, I would appeal again to the Attorney General's office to please reconsider the bail. They should be granted bail immediately, and also so that they can come home to their families, and then we can follow the court case from there. Also, really looking at the evidence put forward. Like you just said, some people are genuinely innocent and they need to have fair trials, fair justice given out to them. And let's rather focus on the issues at hand, that our water bodies are being polluted and something drastic needs to be done about it. If it means that illegal mining or small-scale mining will be put off for a year just for our water bodies to heal, so be it. But government needs to come out and say something, and say something now. Thank you.
Genevieve, just indulge me a little further. I want to bring in Dr. Theo Champong. I'm sure he may have comments you may want to react to, and then after that, you can take leave of us, if that sits well with you.
I wasn't expecting this, but fine.
I don't think it's going to be anything you will find, you'll be averse to, trust me. Dr. Theo Champong is a political risk analyst. He joins the conversation. We'll be delving into other issues. But Dr. Theo Champong, I want to start with you on this Democracy Hub protest, how things have turned out, our brothers and sisters still in the cooler and no way forward with the court process. Amnesty International says they must be granted bail now. Quick reactions, and then I'll conclude with Genevieve.
No, good morning. Pleasure to be here. I think, Genevieve is absolutely right. I mean, people have a right to protest. Of course, that's got to be done within the remit of the law. I'm no lawyer, but certainly there are processes for granting bail, and to the extent that that probably has not been followed, and these people have been in cells for several days now, I believe that does not send, the right signal. And if you look at the conditions in some of these prisons and jails, I mean, it's preposterous, to be very honest. And I think the point that was being made is those conditions have been there for as long as one can remember, and to that extent, it's a systems problem. But fundamentally, the point remains that those that have been arrested deserve, a fair trial, so to say, and that process has to commence, or with the process of them being granted bail following all the right legal processes. And sometimes I feel, the way our security services behave, I would say, they want to show people where power lies, right? So they use all these antics and all these shenanigans to try and, just, send a sense of fear among these people that are protesting, and that I don't think really is something that we should countenance in our democracy.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Theo Champong. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Genevieve Partington? If not, we'll part with you.
No, I'm great. And thank you, Dr. Theo, for those points. Like he said, the way things are going is not really the way we expect them to go in a democracy such as Ghana, and where we say we uphold human rights. So something needs to be done, but it needs to be done now. I believe the more we prolong justice, the more we prolong not granting them bail, I believe is absolutely wrong on the government's part. Thank you.
Genevieve, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. We wish you the very best of the day. That is Genevieve Partington, Country Director, Amnesty International, Ghana. Well, do stay with us. When we return from the break, Dr. Theo Champong is staying with us, and we're going to discourse on the economy. Now, we do know that the inflationary rate has hit 21.5% from about 20.04% the last time. What explains this spike, this upward trend, and what does it bode for our economy? We'll be discussing that right after the break. Welcome back. We're now sending our lenses, focusing our gaze on the economy, as there has been that marginal increment in inflation to 21.5%. We're asking, what is accounting for this? Are we putting in the right remedial measures? And where do we go from here? Dr. Theo Champong joins the conversation. He is a political risk analyst. Doc, thank you so much for joining.
Very much. Thank you very much, and it's good to be here.
I should actually be saying thank you very much for staying, and thanks for those initial comments. But how do you think we got here, as far as this is concerned? And maybe before you even come in, if my team is ready, we should just walk through the facts and the figures, the slides we have, just to paint a picture before we start interrogating the issues. So we'll just get there, the few slides we have, walk through them. And then after we've done that, we shall come and look at what exactly has been happening so far. So from what I see here, you would know that we are contemplating an inflationary rate of 21.5% in September 2024. And this is the first time there has been an increment in 6 months. So for 5 months running, there was no increment. In fact, it was decreasing marginally, but it was still a decrement. But now there has been an uptick, and we have to interrogate what exactly caused this uptick. And you will soon get the feed, so you can move along with me. But and there you have it. So for the first time in 6 months, if we can go to the next slide, you would notice that this is food driven as well. The rise is driven by food inflation. You would notice that last month food inflation stood at 19.1%. This month it stands at 22.1%. That is an increment of about 3%. In fact, exactly 3%. And that is also pushing the needle. Non-food inflation last month stood at 21.5%. It has gone down now to 20.9%. So if you look at it, food inflation is one of the causes, if not the major cause of what we are seeing. Let's go to the next slide now. Then you would see that the prices of locally produced items are rising faster than imported ones, and that's also on the back of the cost of production and taxes and everything in between. Local inflation standing at 23.4%, while imported inflation stands at 17%. That's a difference of 6.4%. So it tells you that local inflation is biting as far as the economy is concerned. If you move on to the next slide, then you would be taking a look at selected items with high inflationary rates in September 2024. Then you're talking about fish from rivers. I don't know whether Galamsey has a role to play in this, but fish from rivers stands at 37% in terms of inflation. Herrings, smoked herrings, 45.2%, and this is something we all consume. Rent, 20.5%. Tomatoes, that is fresh ones, 56.9%. That's a worry because practically everybody uses it. And yam, 42.7%. Now, depending on whether you want afasia or puna, you would notice that the prices have shifted quite a bit. Then we'll move on to the final slide. That was the penultimate slide. So now the final slide. And then fried plantain and beans, inflation there, 50.1%. Yokegari or gobe, as some people will call it. Kenke and fried fish, inflation 32.4%. Akpeteshi, akpet, 36.3%. Primary education 30.8%. And public or private SSS or SHS fees 38.1%. When you do the compilation, you see that it paints a certain picture, but food inflation definitely one of the causes. So now coming to you, Doc, when you look at these facts, these figures as put out, what do they mean to you?
It tells us that the process of disinflation, which we had seen the last couple of months, is just about to peak, right? So if you look at the data, and like you rightly indicated, for the last 5 or 6 months, inflation has consistently been coming down to around 20-point-something% with the last reading. It doesn't mean that
I think 20.04 or so.
Yes, it doesn't mean that prices are not rising, but relatively speaking, they are not rising as fast as when it was like 54%.
Right.
But particularly if you look at the Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee report and the last meeting that they had, they actually reduced the policy rate by 200 basis points, 2%, off the back of the expectation that inflation was going to further ease going into the latter part of the year. And in fact, we've got a target of 15% for end year inflation. I think, and I've always maintained this, that it's going to be a bit difficult to meet that 15% target, especially given that the rate of that disinflation had not been as fast enough as we expected, even given the bumper harvest that we had last month and the month before. And with this new reading that has come through, if you look at the change month on month on food inflation, that's about 4.2% change month on month. And then non-food is only 1.6%. So it still tells you that you've got a big pressure on the non-food component of the inflation basket, and with households still, facing a lot of challenges when it comes to food. And so I'm not surprised then that you see, like you said, gobe and other things, picking up, momentum. And then also, when you look at it from local versus imported items, you again are seeing a bit bigger percentage rise on the local items base relative to the imported items. So you've got, I think, 23.4 versus 17% on the imported items. So it still tells you that a lot of the cost factors, the business environment, is still having a major impact on businesses, and businesses are passing this on to consumers. Hence why the inflation has picked up, momentum again. I don't think that 15% is going to be met by the end of the year. And again, if you quickly look at even the breakdown, so if you disaggregate the September numbers again from the statistical service, you see that on a month-on-month basis, I think alcohol went up about 4%, and then food and non-alcoholic beverages also 4.2%, and then things like personal care items also went up 3.2%. So it's a big or varied mix, but the biggest driver really has been the local bit, and especially the food component of the inflation basket.
I see. Now, you talk about non-food inflation as well, though food inflation is causing the increment on the surface of it, as the legal people say, prima facie. But non-food is also contributing. So what does this mean? Does this mean that as of now, we should be expecting inflation to continue on a certain trajectory? Because if you look at it, though there's been a dip, if you compare the food inflation and the increment to non-food deflation, if you may put it that way, you would see that food inflation is higher by way of percentage, about 3%, in fact, 3 percentage points heading north for food inflation, and a decline of less than a point for non-food inflation. What does that mean, basically?
So what it means, and I think probably the worrying sign, if you remember, a lot of the people or farmers in the middle and the northern belt of the country have been complaining about the rains not coming for the last several months, right? And these are the major food growing areas or food basket of Ghana, right? So, and to the point that even the government had to intervene by providing, I think it was 500 million Ghana cedis or so to support these farmers. So what that for me tells me is that the inflation expectations would actually begin to pick up again going into the lean season. So we're just coming off the major rain-fed season where there was relatively some good food or a lot of food around, but not as much as we're used to compared to previous years, because the rains didn't come and our agriculture is largely rain-fed. So as we actually move into the leaner seasons, starting November, December, January, February, I think that the inflation actually will begin to pick up, and you begin to see the food inflation component, still being relatively or persistently high. What that also then means is that we'll have to then supplement that with a lot of potential imports coming right through to meet people's needs. And therefore, some of the inflation for the imported items would also begin to pick up. So overall, what that tells me really is that in the months to come, inflation will still begin to pick up and be relatively high and nowhere near the 15% that we're looking at.
You're saying that while government had projected 15% by close of year, if we are to look at this data and the projections you're making, it's going to continue on this trajectory, and we shouldn't expect 15% anytime soon, at least not by close of year.
15% was the end of year target for this year on the IMF program.
Right.
There are a few other targets for 2024, which I don't have off the top of my head. But even that 15%, I think that probably we're going to meet it, if any, going to be way into the second half of next year. And for the few months to come, certainly as we are entering the lean season, less rainfall, less food being available, and the fact that even the food that we've had in this current bumper season has not been enough because the bread baskets of the country have not had enough rainfall. Inflation would still be on the high. So I think it could still move between the 22 to 24, 25 band easily.
Okay, you think it can move to 22 to 25 band. Just clarify for me. So you're saying that if we're going to hit about 15, for you, you don't see it happening. Did you mean second quarter? Because you said second half of next year, which would then mean from July. Did you mean second half of next year or second quarter?
Second half of next year, so from July onwards. So the 15% figure, the 15% target for December of this year, it would not happen, number one. And as we enter into next year, that target would be revised. And if the rains do come and there's a bit more food around, then yeah, we're probably looking at 15% from July onward.
Now, this inflation has a spiral effect. So when you look at the local inflation of 23.4%, which is 6.4 percentage points higher than imported inflation, what component, how much of it would you adduce to taxation and the cost of local production or the cost of raw materials?
Difficult to actually disaggregate just from the data. I have to do some further analysis. But clearly what you see from the data is, yes, the tax component is an issue. But I also think the issue of transport, like, petrol and moving goods from the hinterlands to Accra and Kumasi and some of the urban areas, I would also, have an effect within that. But in terms of the broader disaggregation of, the extent to which taxes feed into that, difficult to give a precise number on that, except to say in broad terms that it is an issue. We've had our businesses complain for several years now. We've had Guta on this platform. I've sat with them. You've interviewed us, and you can see that the business environment still remains particularly challenging for a number of our entrepreneurs.
When you do the disaggregation, or at least you itemize them, fish from rivers, herrings, and all of that, these are concerns because you are looking at Amani. I believe that those are herrings, unless I am mistaken. Smoked ones, 45.2%. That is pretty high. You look at tomatoes, another staple, another thing that we are using in practically all our stews, soups, and all that, 56.9%. Yam stands at 42.7%, and that is pretty high. But I'm also curious, there's akpeteshi in there. I don't know, and it's 36.3%. As for gobe, it has crossed the midway line, 50.1%. Then you take out, you bring in education, for example, primary education standing at 30.8%, and public or private SHS fees at 38.1%. When you look at these products as they have been, delineated, disaggregated, is there a picture? Is there a pattern?
Not necessarily. I mean, so you actually compare it to other previous months' readings, and you see some items persistently being high, other ones change relative, positions here and there. But it's also a function of the proportion or the weight of these items within the overall, basket of goods that we're looking at. For things like tomatoes, I probably am a little bit surprised, also because I think it was a few months ago that I was in your studio where we were talking about tomato prices, people paying 10 CD for like 1 or 2, and it became a big furore. Subsequent to that, I have seen photos and videos showing a lot of glut of tomatoes within our market. But because it's a seasonal item, and for a very long time, we're not investing or doing enough to actually can the tomatoes or puree them and save some when you don't, when they are bountiful or plenty. It then has this cascading effect where if the tomato is not available because it's gone out of season, suddenly you begin to see the big spike or jump in the price. But consistently, the message from our inflation figures or readings over the last several years re-emphasizes the point that we need to do a lot more local consumption, local production, and then add value to a lot of our, staples, especially when they are in the bumper season, so you can, save some for the lean season where prices tend to be quite astronomical.
I would ask you about the gains we have made over time from the 50+%, that horrifying figure, highest in about 21 years that we saw. There's been a steady decline. But here's why I'm asking this question. If you look at the producer price inflation as of March 2022, it's still at 21.4%. Guess what? It is October 2024, and we're standing at 21.5%. You can go back, 2 years, and we seem to be in a little box. Am I misreading it? Or is it that maybe if you look at the inflationary trend and you also look at the practical cost of living, the needle hasn't moved much?
No, the needle actually has moved. So we need to disaggregate what the PPI does and then what the CPI does, right? I mean, for many people, the CPI, that's the core measure of inflation,
right,
not the PPI.
Right. But I brought the PPI in because when you look at the local inflation, for example, and you look at imported inflation, it comes to play. So what is the nexus between them? And is there any shift?
Yes, so the nexus is, it comes down to the inputs that these producers are using to manufacture their goods and manufacture their services. You've seen the exchange rate do whatever it was, although now it had some relative stability. You could argue the tax issues that we've been talking about, the utilities issues that we've been talking about, all those things have a big consequence for businesses. What we want to see is to see both of those indicators, the producer price inflation and then the CPI, they should be going down. That is what you want. You want it to go down, and that then means that ultimately you're going to get more money, improve the welfare of businesses as well as consumers, and that has been challenging for several reasons. I think that the fact that we moved in the case of the CPI from the 54 now to 20-something%, yes, you could say it's a positive, but it's still nowhere near, even compared to some of our regional peers, what they are doing with their inflation rate. A lot more can and needs to be done on the side of the fiscal authorities, and then on the monetary side, as well. Because what happens is that anytime the inflation figures or rate goes up, then the central bank has to react to that by trying to, curtail money supply, classic monetary policy intervention. And that then means basically the policy rate goes up and the cost of borrowing at the banks also goes up, and it affects businesses and it affects consumers.
Let me ask you this two-pronged question. So, and it's in one direction. How much of a factor does the exchange rate contribute to these dynamics we are seeing? Because we've seen where Last time I checked, Swiss franc was over 18. We've seen where the dollar is pegged at, the euro, the Great British, or the British pound sterling as well. And juxtapose that with the Bank of Ghana's initiative, for example, with the gold coin, dowry gold, 1 ounce, half ounce, quarter ounce. I've heard the likes of Professor Bokpin say that it's not the panacea. It's not what will cure our problems in terms of the exchange rate and inflation. But when you put these two together, how do they merge side by side? And can they impact inflationary trends?
Yeah, so if you actually look at the literature and you look at what drives inflation and sort of unpack or disaggregate it in the country, of course, yes, exchange rate is one of the big factors in there, especially the fact that you have a lot of imported items, coming through. And even for the local ones, like your food, you still need petrol, diesel to fuel the cars to move them, right, from somewhere in the north to say Accra. So that's a big thing. The interventions that the central bank is trying to do, including this new gold coin, is one of several other monetary policy moves, right? So I think the idea is that instead of buying, for argument's sake, dollars, you could buy a gold coin and then, sell off the gold or hold on to it, whatever you want to do. But it does not fundamentally solve the problem. It's a minuscule intervention relative to the scale of the problem because of the expectations, right? For many citizens, for many businesses, they would prefer to hold on to the dollar, right? Because they see that as a sort of safety and a retainer of asset value. Gold could help bridge that gap, but I think there's also a trust issue in some respect, given what we've seen. If you go back with men's gold and a few other things that have happened, a few years ago. So I don't think that it would kind of fundamentally tip the needle, so to say, in that respect. But it is one of several.
Did you just say you didn't think it? Did you just say you didn't think it would move the needle?
Yes, I don't think that the gold back coin or the gold coin that the central bank is trying to put would, push the needle that much when it comes to bringing inflation down through pushing people to actually swap, for example, dollars for gold.
I see. That means your reasoning is similar to Professor Bokpin's. What then can we expect? We're entering an election. People want inflation to come down. People want their pockets to be under less stress, less of a stretch, less pressure. If what you have said is anything to go by, that up to the second half of next year, July onwards, you don't see inflation coming down to the 15% as projected by our government in conjunction with the IMF. I don't know what that means economically, even as we go into the election. I'm just posing an interesting question to you. Does that mean Ghanaians should measure their, expectations, or we all should measure our expectations ahead of whichever government we get in 2025?
Yeah, I've said on your platform and others that the 2025, whichever government comes in, we're still under an IMF program. There are still challenges with raising revenue. You still have a constrained fiscal space. From next year onwards, we'll actually even know the size of the spending, right, when it came to the election. Because historically, we've seen governments, try to spend or overspend in election years. Although my good friend and finance minister has said that they're going to stay the course, right? They're not going to overspend this financial year because you've got the IMF in town and all of that. the needle or the cat will be out by early next year. And those fiscal constraints are still there in that regard. And when it comes to ordinary citizens and things like that, I think the story is that the inflationary expectations would still be relatively high. That 15% target, of course, is actually set by the government together with its partners as part of the IMF program. But these are targets. These things change and they can be renegotiated at any point during the course of the IMF program. In fact, I'm expecting that as we go into early next year, probably some elements of the IMF program overall will possibly have to be renegotiated to accommodate the emerging sort of economic realities after the election.
Let's just do this. I want you've already started on that trajectory, but that recent town hall, we had our own finance minister, Dr. Amin Adams, speak to certain economic issues. I want us to watch that, and I'll come back to you with some questions.
Global happiness. Ghana, for example, was doing very well before this global happiness. We were growing at average 7%. Inflation was a single digit. Fiscal deficit was on target. But the good news is that we do not relent. And therefore, we have been implementing pragmatic policies which are bringing the economy back stronger. The rebound in our economy is well appreciated by our people who have suffered the hardship inflicted on us by this global happiness. And we are confident that sooner than later, the sacrifices they have made will bear fruits for the benefit of all of our people. Today, as I speak to you, growth ended 2023 at 2.9%, above the target of 1.5%. Inflation halved in 12 months from 54% by end of 2022 to 25% by April this year. And we are expected to move inflation further down to 15% by the end of this year, hoping to bring it back to a single digit by 2027. But this is at a huge cost to our people because we have had to embark on huge fiscal adjustments.
All right, so that was Dr. Amin Adams saying that touting Ghana's economic laurels ahead of the global developments, COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war. That's definitely what he was referencing. He says, we do not relent and we are going to bounce back. The economy is bouncing back stronger. He talks about growth being above expectation in 2023, for example, and he talks about the 15% inflationary figure that has been targeted. He touts that again, and he talks about bringing it down to single digits. I didn't catch whether he said 2027 or 2026. But he talks about all of these things. How realistic are these positionings now, looking at how things are going?
Yeah, so I think we've discussed the inflation one, and
yes,
that the 15%.
That we've already looked at.
That's not going to happen. But I mean, there's some other positives which I agree with him on the growth figures, right? You look at the growth figures coming out the last quarter, the quarter before. It does indicate an uptick of economic activity and improvement in momentum at the macro level, which again is good. It's positive. It affects your GDP. It affects your debt servicing capacity, the fact that we've concluded all of the debt renegotiation arrangements and all of that, those things are all positive. The bit that I've always, as a matter of principle, disagree is the whole Russia-Ukraine COVID argument, which again, on this platform and several others, the data shows that Ghana is not an exception. Other countries suffered the same fate, but we took a bigger hit relative to them because of certain issues, because of the fact that there were some fiscal challenges, some not living, so to say, within our means, and a few other issues here and there. That I have always disagreed with government spokesperson in trying to attribute the cause of the crisis kind of solely to the COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine. In fact, you even look at the IMF report that came, last year, and it says that, there were existing fiscal vulnerabilities, and that is what really compounded the effects of the crisis. All that said and done, I am relatively optimistic. I think that the worst of the crisis is over, and in that regard, I align with what the finance minister was saying in terms of expectations for next year and beyond. And he says that single-digit inflation is going to be 2027. That's a long time off. You've got 2 or 3 years to work on that, which is possible. Ultimately, all of this conversation is got to be about the Ghanaian. It's got to be about how we ensure that they are able to put food on the table and they're able to, support others that depend, on them. And that means doing our collective best, both on the fiscal monetary front, to ensure that the inflation goes down, there is growth, jobs are created, and those jobs or those growth actually translate into micro level gains. So we reduce poverty, you reduce inequality, and that has been my biggest concern in all of this conversation, that if you look at some of the inequality and the poverty figures, right, in the last 10 years, it's actually doubled, right? So from about 12% of the population that was being classified as struggling or call it poor based on the international poverty benchmark, now it's actually around 20-something% of the population. And the World Bank forecast that this could go all the way up to 33%. So almost 3 in 10 of our population, or a third of the population. That is the worrying thing, and that is what I think that a lot of the policy interventions that we see going forward ought to address. So it's not just addressing macro issues. They are important, but it has to connect to the micro to the extent that it helps to improve the welfare of our people and brings down poverty and inequality.
We'll be wrapping the conversation shortly, and shortly as well, we'll take you to Okponglo, the scene of the Free the Citizens and Stop Galamsey Now demonstration. But before we go there, my final bit to you on this. I believe the IMF is in town again. How do you feel we are faring as far as the IMF, supported program is concerned? And what would your expectations be by close of year?
Yeah, so on the IMF programs, we've actually done quite well. If you look at the quantitative targets, the structural benchmarks, and the conditionalities, the things that we need to do, we've met most of them. The last review indicated that we had done well. I'm expecting the current review, which is expected anytime soon, also to give us, a pass mark and release some additional funding for the country, which would all help in bolstering the reserves and supporting the CDS. So I think that, relatively speaking, on the IMF program, we're good. The biggest challenge was, of course, the debt restructuring, and that's kind of been addressed now. So the emphasis now is growth, 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 and growth that creates jobs, growth that reduces poverty, growth that reduces inequality. That is the biggest challenge that we've got to address.
All right. Before you take leave of us, Dr. Theo Acheampong, I just want to take us to those scenes there. If you have any reaction from what you see, you can share with us before we go. This is Okponglo, And there it is, the Stop Galamsey Now, and Free the Citizens demonstration that is taking place. You followed the issue, you shared your reactions earlier. We're bringing the footage and the amassing up, the demonstrators there. And we see the Ghana Police Service also there to serve in full force as well. They are also on the scene. And my hope is that today there will not be any infractions and that everybody will demonstrate their thoughts openly, but within the remit of the law, and that no one will be picked up. But those are the scenes there, and you can expect that either on this show or later in subsequent shows or bulletins, will bring you the action on the ground. But Dr. Theo Champong, from what you're seeing, any reactions before we go? Those will be your final words.
Yeah, no, citizens have a right to protest. I just hope that it's done peacefully and there would be no confrontations and no sort of violence and people don't get hurt and all of that. But they have a right to be there to support the protest. I lend my support to the protest. If actually were around and had the opportunity, I would be there supporting them in the protest. But they have to do it peacefully and within the remit of the law. That's very important.
Doc, we're grateful for your time this morning. Nagode. And that is Dr. Theo Champong. He's a political risk analyst. You want to stay with us? There's still more action coming your way on the AM show. We'll be back after the break. Let me tell you a bit about the Energy Commission and the Ministry of Energy, who in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana TVET Service present the 5th edition of the Energy Commission Senior High Schools Renewable Energy Challenge. This challenge aims at developing the research skills of senior high school students and promoting technological innovation in renewable energy. Competing fiercely in this thrilling competition are the following schools: Obuasi SHTS, St. James Seminary SHS, Ola Girls SHS, Ahantaman Girls SHS, Bando SHS, and Dabokpa Technical Institute. We invite you, join us for the grand finale on Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024 at the Accra International Conference Center. You can catch the live broadcast right here on Joy News at 9 a.m. This event is proudly supported by the GIZ, Ashesi University, the French Development Agency, and the VRA. But for now, let us take you to Okponglo, where that demonstration, Stop Galamsey Now, Free the Citizens, is ongoing. My colleague Kenneth Jesse is on hand and he brings us details. Kenneth, what can you report from Okponglo?
Well, Benjamin, the protesters started walking. They expected to move here through several routes in Accra and then land at the Independence Square. Now, they started gathering here as early as 6 a.m. They have a simple mission. One is to stop Galamsey now, and two, they are calling for the release of the 53 protesters who embarked on a similar demonstration about 2 weeks ago, but are being remanded by the Accra Circuit Court for 2 weeks. So if you can see and hear the euphoria around me, there is heavy police presence. Ahead of me, behind me, to my left, to my right, you can see police all over, and the protesters are also in high spirit, ready for the day. And then today they expected, when they get to the Independence Square, to present a petition to the Attorney General, and then tomorrow they will also be presenting a petition to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. And as you can see, I want to engage some of the people that have taken part in the protest. And today, what is significant is that I'm seeing a lot of young women taking part in this. The previous one didn't have a lot of them. And today, as you can see, a lot of them are taking part. I want to find out from them what really pushed them to come out of their various houses and speak to us. Hi, why have you decided to take part in this demonstration?
We want the government to release our friends and comrades. Free Cedric, free Ama Governor, free Oliver Bata, free Rao, free Benjamin. Stop Galamsey.
If you think you are in Accra and it's not affecting you, it's affecting all of us. Stop Galamsey now.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me speak to my lady here. You say our leaders have sold us out. I mean, I believe you share similar sentiments with your colleagues that have joined the demonstration today.
Yes, the issue of Galamsey is a concern for every citizen of this country. We don't have clean water. Our forests are being destroyed. There are no more arable lands for employment. Aquatic life is being destroyed. Something has to be done.
Benjamin, so these are the seeds here. You see them holding hands. They want to move in unison, and the road has not been blocked, although it is this part of the road has been blocked. The other side, there is free flow of traffic with the demonstrators lined up, cheering, calling for the release of the 53 demonstrators who were remanded by the Accra Circuit Court, and those people are expected to reappear before the Accra Circuit Court on the 8th and the 11th of October, respectively. So this is the demonstration that is currently ongoing. Very charged, euphoric atmosphere, around this area, and then they'll be marching from here through other major streets, and then will converge at the Independence Square, where they'll later hold a vigil for the 52 people who have been remanded by the Accra Circuit Court. Of course, we want to get closer and talk to more of them and find out what really pushed them to, come out of their homes to join the protest. And for comparison, the last one, they didn't have a lot of people, but this one, you can see them out in their numbers. Both men, women, and girls, boys, they're all here calling for two things: the release of the protesters and an end to illegal mining, which is otherwise known as Galamsey. Let's get closer. Let me talk to my man here. I can see that you've held hands. Are you part of them?
Yes, we are part of them. We are trying to protect them so that the line won't miss up. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the police put out a statement that they are expecting this demonstration to be peaceful, and that if it is not, they are going to use all legal force to disperse the crowd. Are you assuring the police that you are going to ensure that this is going to be a peaceful protest? Okay, I tried speaking to one of the security people here, but his colleague has told them not to speak. But let's get with it and try to speak. Say again? Yes, let's get closer. I've seen my man here. You're live on Join Us. Can we speak to you briefly? Okay, he doesn't want to speak. Yes, but we still try and get some of the people to speak to. Hi, you're live on Join Us. Can I speak to you briefly? I mean, you are in a very interesting apparel. First of all, why the choice of dress this morning?
Well, I choose peace. You understand? In Ghana here, it is known that when you are in black and you are in red, it means that it is danger. But then I choose to be in this. Personally, it is my apparel. I'm an activist myself. And this is how I identify myself. This is how I choose to be identified. So that is why I'm in this.
I know that you are here because of you want Galamsey to be stopped, and then also the release of the protesters. But for some who really do not see the magnitude of the devastation Galamsey is causing us, tell us what really moved you to be here.
Well, personally, what actually moved me to be out is the fact that I believe that water is one of the most basic and essential commodities that we all use as humans. You understand? Science has made us understand that the human body is made up of 60% of water. So it is important for all of us to fight for clean water, because humans can survive without food, but nobody on this earth can survive without water. So it's as basic as that. And exactly as it is said, I would rather prefer clean water over all the flagship policies that the political parties, especially the two major political parties, are actually putting out there. What is a 24-hour economy when we do not have clean water to drink? What is it? They all claim to want to lead this country, but something as basic as making sure that your citizens have clean water to drink is a problem. How is it that we claim to be in a country where there are leaders, people that we have empowered with our votes, who are supposed to see to it that our natural resources are kept for the next generation, and they sit aloof and watch on for such menace, illegal mining, for Galamsey to destroy our forest reserves and our water bodies? It is very sad. So personally, if I find myself out, it's basic. I'm only calling that Galamsey should be stopped. I'm only calling that the citizens that were arrested should be freed. And again, I am calling that they should ensure that we have clean water to drink. It's as basic as that. Is it too much to ask for? I don't think so. I think that water should have rather been free than free SHS. Clean water should have been the first thing that this government should have given on to the citizens of this country as free before free education. So it is as basic as that, please.
I don't know if you were at the last protest which resulted in the arrest of many, but one of the issues they raised was that there was low turnout and that they did not see why the youth did not come out in their numbers to protest against illegal mining. Today you are here, you've seen the numbers, are you encouraged?
Look, I do not really see numbers as a problem. Exactly, I do not see numbers as a problem. It could even be a solo protest, so long as the message is very clear and it is very loud. I believe that is what it is. We do not need masses, we do not need millions of people in the streets to actually drum home our message. So I do not care about the numbers. We could be 5, we could be 10, we could be 100, 1,000. It is not important. The most important thing is to drum home the message that they should stop Galamsey now, they should free the citizens, and they should also make sure that the citizens of this country have basic drinking water, clean water, not water that is poisoned by mercury and cyanide. Thank you.
Thank you too. So they are paused momentarily. One of the leadership is telling them that they should all take out their mobile phones, take a photo around, and then post it with the hashtag Stop Galamsey Now and free the citizens. So they are making sure that all of them adhere to that. So they paused momentarily to adhere to what they are being told. Okay, so as you can see, that's what they're doing. All of them are taking their mobile phones out. They've been told to take a photo just here, upload it onto social media, add the hashtag Stop Galamsey, and then free the citizens now. I've seen another man here that can I speak to you briefly? You're live on Joy News. You were told to post a picture with the hashtag Stop Galamsey Now, free the citizens. Have you done it?
Yes, I've done it. You know, this thing is really, really bad. Our waters are destroyed and people don't seem to care. The youth are just at home doing nothing and they are just talking rubbish. You know, you can have money, but when our water bodies are destroyed, you can't buy the water being imported. Please come out in your numbers and let's protest peacefully. The word is peacefully protesting. So no one is getting arrested because we are protesting peacefully. Come out in your numbers and let's protest. Thank you all.
Thank you too. So that's another young person who has joined the protest. It tells me that he's already posted his photo with the hashtag Stop Galamsey Now and then free the citizens. And most of them are still doing it. I want to talk to this man here. Can I talk to you briefly? Hello. Hello. Yes. Let me have a look at your placard. We want an accountable government. Why?
We are moving. Yeah, because I believe in every institution. We have to hold people accountable. Because we put you in power, because we need accountability. That's why I voted in power. Once there is no accountability for us, then we don't know what is happening. So accountability is what we are looking for. That is what we are demanding for. Yeah.
On Monday, just 2 days ago, Organized Labor, which is a group comprising of many government workers, teachers, doctors, GPRTU, and so on, they say that they are embarking on a strike due to this illegal menace, which they called on the government to declare a state of emergency from the 10th of October. Do you support their strike for this illegal menace?
I'm actually joining them as well, because I believe it is a collective fight. We all need to come together and fight this fight. We can only win if we come together and fight as a nation and fight as one. One Ghana, one people. That's who we are.
There are about 53 people who have been put behind bars. They've been remanded into police and prison custody. Do you have personal relationship with any of them?
Yeah, I know Glenn. Glenn is my brother. I know Glenn. And the first Occupy Jilobi, I was with Glenn throughout the protest. Glenn is a very good guy, you know, very calm, but he's still inside for what? Just asking for accounts for his taxes and all those things. It's not right. That is actually infringing on a human right. We all have our right, and no one has to infringe on anybody's right. Once that happens, we're not in a democratic country anymore. So we want accountability. That's all we are demanding for. Yes.
Thank you very much. Aside these people, I've also seen a few famous faces. I've seen sports journalist Sadiq Obama. I've also seen some social media influencers who have joined this protest. We'll try and locate them if we find them, to speak to them, to find out from them why they have also joined this protest. So we've been walking for the past 15 or so minutes, and then it's been largely peaceful so far. They make a few stops after walking for a few minutes to make some announcements. As they've done, they've stopped, to listen to the announcement that's been made by the leadership. Let me get closer, speak to more people. Hi, can I speak to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you have joined this protest. Why?
Because they are polluting our waters. Let me say, if they are not stopping it, right? I don't have money to do dialysis. You don't have money to do dialysis. The people in the village don't also have money to do dialysis. So what we can do best is we have to stop them from polluting our waters. Let me say, we in Accra, where you say it doesn't concern it. It concerns us a lot. And they are polluting. They have to stop now. And they have to release the protesters too, sir.
Thank you very much. That's one of the protesters here. They're holding a big banner with the inscription "Stop Galamsey Now, Free the Citizens." Hashtag Stop Galamsey Now. And in this photo, you can see some very dirty rivers there. And to your far right, you can see that there are some children who are consuming this water. And then to your left also, you can see a young baby lying there. But let me get closer and speak to one of them who's holding the banner. What's the significance of this banner?
All right, the significance of this banner is clearly shown in the pictures that are there. Those horrifying pictures of how our waters have been discolored. So you can see the Densu, the Pra, Shama Sea, even in that section. And you can see the cost of all what the cyanide and all the chemicals used to do Galamsey are happening to our kids. The unborn kids, the rate of maternal mortality has increased, the rate of abortions based on the fact that the babies cannot form well. You can see that clearly there. And these are the causes, the dire causes of Galamsey on our health, on the citizens. And when citizens who are fighting for the right cause, they get arrested. So today we are here for Stop Galamsey Now, Free the Citizens. We are fighting for a good cause. They should destroy Galamsey, not our future. They should destroy Galamsey, not our future. They should destroy Galamsey, not our future. Free the citizens, Stop Galamsey Now.
Thank you very much. So that is another protester who said that they should destroy Galamsey and not the future of Ghanaians. And of course, they are responding to no way in a plethora of words that have been meted out by one of the leadership, telling them to that this corruption, no way, abortion, no way, abduction, no way. I mean, they've been loud, very loud enough. And if my cameraman can pan To in front of me, you can also see that there are people who are ahead as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's heavy security presence here. And, of course, a few traffics here and there. You can see some bystanders who are also observing the scenes here. So it's been largely peaceful. If you come here, it's been largely peaceful thus far, which is the expectation. We expect that from now to when they get to their destinations, it is going to be peaceful throughout. So they've taken their time a bit. There's some announcements going on now. We want to get closer. Yes. So the leadership is telling them that they need to trust the Ghana police. They need to ensure that this demonstration is peaceful, because ahead of this, they had some conversations. The leadership of the protesters had some conversations with the Ghana Police Service, which they assure them that their members are going to be peaceful. And the police also said that they should ensure that they are peaceful, because if they are not, they will use any legal means to disperse the crowd. I mean, something significant is happening right now. Most of them are sitting down. They are going down on their knees to sit in the middle of the road. Yes. And the leader is saying that this is a sign of seriousness. I mean, if you come here, you can see them that they are all on their knees. Most of them are on their knees shouting, "Stop Galamsey now." That is it. I want to get closer and speak to one of them. What? You're live on Joy News. What's the significance of this kneeling?
Yeah, so it signifies that we want them to free our people who have been 2 weeks. They have been into the custody. We want them to free them now. That's why we are kneeling down. We are praying to God to free them now. Free them now, today. We want them to be. We want them to come out. We want them to come out. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's get closer. I want to talk to one of the leaders now, and he's on a phone call, but I'm sure he'll be done. Hi, you're live on Joy News. Okay. He said he doesn't want to speak now, but they sat in the middle of the road for about a minute. They're up. Those are all part of the significance of this. They say that they are sitting in the middle of the road to speak to the leaders that they need to end illegal mining and do it now. And they're also calling for the immediate release of the arrested protesters, who are numbering up to 53. So now they're moving ahead, but slowly. And a few meters ahead also, the police are also guarding the place. Of course, let me get to my right side and get closer to some of them and try and get a word or two from them.
Because your house is burning and you are the one who set the fire, so you don't have to extinguish it.
All right, let's get closer now and try and speak to them. Hi, you're live on Joy News. Can I speak to you briefly?
Yes.
Okay. I can see you are in a very boisterous mood. What's causing that?
So we are here peacefully protesting, talking about things that we think is going wrong in the country as youth, and we are just trying to draw the attention of the authorities. We are thinking maybe they don't know about it or they haven't heard what is going on. So we are using this as an opportunity to just spread the word and tell them what is going on and tell them to take action. Because the Ghana, as we know, the Ghana we were so happy growing up in, we are losing it. So we are just helping, we are just hoping, and we are just pleading with them to help and stop all the wrong things going on. And also just pleading to the government and to the authorities to free our brothers.
Thank you very much. Let me talk to my gentleman here as well.
Free the citizens. Free the citizens.
And that is the Free the Citizens Stop Galamsey Now demonstration currently taking place. They have approached the Ghana Standards Authority area bearing placards that say things like "Destroy Galamsey, not our future," and "Your greed, our crisis." Well,